Now, today, we are gonna see, what if Naruto had Wetty Harem in Bathtub with Hinata? Join Patreon for early ACESS of Super Op stories, also adult and steamy Harry Potter stories too. Please subscribe this channel, because definitely I will try my best to provide a valuable content for you all. Also check the description to support the original author for this beautiful creation. Noel's POV. As I embrace Ragna, my mind tries desperately to fight my limbs as they lead the two of us towards the cauldron. While I drag him, I could not help but feel that Ragna feels somewhat familiar to me, as though he has that air of an older brother. Finally we arrived at the lip of the cauldron. My mouth moved on its own accord, speaking in a voice similar to a little girl's. "I told you that there was nothing that you could do," I said as we leaned towards the fires that resided in the cauldron, when all of a sudden a gloved hand grabs Ragna and a boot slams in to my face, sending me flying into the cauldron. As I look to the source, I see that it was Jin that separated me from Ragna. I turned my head towards the oncoming flames that resides inside, and for moment time seemed to slow to a crawl. Is this what it's like to die? I really wanted to do more with my life, I thought to myself as the flames started to become hotter. I closed my eyes for the last me awaiting death, all the while shedding silent tears. Naruto's POV. It has been almost 3 years since I left Konoha to train with Jiraiya in improving my almost non-existent skills after failing to capture Sasuke at the Valley of the End. I stare at the stars looking up at the night sky. It's hard to believe that I'll be coming home tomorrow after 3 years away. I wonder how my friends are doing, I thought absently as a shooting star streaks across the night sky. I decided to make a wish. I wish I could change things 3 years ago, I thought to myself as I turned to resume sleeping. I awoke early enough to see that dawn is coming soon. Knowing that it would be pointless to go back to sleep, I decided to train by myself. First I decided to take a 5-mile run and do some taijutsu and a turn to camp in time for the pervert to wake up from a drunken stupor and berate him while he's on the receiving end of a hangover. I find a clearing large enough to provide some decent training in Tart on the usual katas and progressed into the more advanced versions when I noted a light in the sky, another shooting star. I thought to myself as my theory was shot by the fact it was moving too slow and too low to be one. The object flies over my head, forcing me to drop to the ground. I look up to see the object slam into the ground with an incredible crash. I rushed to the site of the crash and noted a decent-sized crater, and in the center a figure was standing there, but due to the amount of smoke I could only see a silhouette until at last the smoke dissipated enough to allow me a clear view of the person, to reveal that it was a girl around my age wearing a dark blue beret, a blue and white dress adorned with a red tie, elbow-length blue sleeves that you can remove, and black socks that are each is above the knees. In her hands are 2 metal objects that looked as though they could cause some serious damage if need be. The girl opens her eyes to reveal them to be a vibrant green, looking at me as though she was lost. Taking a step forward, the girl collapses onto the ground. I rush over to see if she is injured. I leaned over her and performed a diagnostic jutsu. While I can perform simple medical jutsu, my chakra would overload something more complex. After a moment I cancelled the jutsu and let the information flow into me. It seems that whatever she went through, she was tired and needed some rest. I gently pick her up and decided to take her back to camp. Where did you come from? I thought to myself as I proceeded to take her to the camp, all the while thinking that she's rather cute. To be continued. Me. Sorry if this is short, but I need to start building momentum for the upcoming chapters. Next time, Noel awakens to meet an interesting ninja. As always, hoodie who? Me. Sorry fo. The delay, I had problems with my computer forcing me to reformat it. Typical disclaimers apply. I do not own BlazBlue or Naruto in any shape or form. The results of the poll is in. Hinata will be added to the FIC, so Naruto Hinata fans rejoice. There's a new poll on my profile, so check it out. With that said, SQUIRRRRRELPUUUUNNNNCH. Noel's POV. I slowly opened my eyes after what seemed like an eternity. And raised my hand in front of my face to block the bright sunlight from hurting my eyes. Though I was falling into the cauldron, I thought to myself as I started to sit up. I could hear the various birds singing in the air. I lower my hand to see that I was on top of a sleeping bag and see that bulwark laying next to me. For those of you unfamiliar with BlazBlue, the full name of Noel's number X Nictors is called Arcus Diabolus. Bulwark, and does not fire bullets like a regular gun, instead it causes damage by creating distortions in dimensional space. This is according to Wikipedia, when a voice calls up grabbing my attention. Ah, I see that you're awake. Good thing too, I was starting to get worried. I turned my head to see a young man around my age wearing an orange and black jumpsuit with a holster on his right leg and a small bag attached to his waist. His blonde hair was glistening in the sunlight as his sapphire blue eyes looked at me filled with concern, and his face was adorned with 3 marks on each side of his face, giving them the appearance of whiskers. Wait. Whiskers equals cute. He's even cuter than Lao Ju, I thought, as the need to glomp the blonde overrides my common sense. And I leaped to him and hugged him tight, rubbing my cheek against his face. Surprisingly enough, the young man started to purr in contention. Ha 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 ha. I gotta say, kid, you definitely know how to pick them. Another voice spoke up, startling me, forcing me to let go of the cute blonde that I was groping to turn to see the source of the new voice and see an older gentleman with long white hair tied into a ponytail, carrying a rather large scroll on his back, and is dressed like a kabuki actor, like from a play I once seen in Orient Town when I was younger. Damn it, pervy sage, you know I like Sakura. The blonde retorted as he stood up and bopped the man over the head, to which the elderly man counters with a strong slap to the back of his head, sending him straight to the ground, with a growl. Blonde and the elderly man started to fight each other. Essentially they were producing a small cloud of dust, all the while every so often you see either the blonde or the man peeking out of the cloud, until eventually I grew frustrated by their actions. Will you please tell me what the hell is going on? I screamed at the two of them, forcing them to stop as the two of them were about to hit each other in the face. For a moment they looked at me, then remembered that the two of them were in the middle of a fight and punched each other in the face, thus starting the fight anew. Bang bang bang. The sounds of bulwark finally stops the two. They look at the small holes in the ground and then at the smoking guns in my hands and then at me with fear apparent in their eyes as I pointed both barrels at them, ready to use the chain revolver if needed. With a glare that could freeze Rachel, I speak in an evenly and calm voice, but there was no mistaking the killing intent behind my words. The two of you will behave yourselves in my presence, otherwise I will make sure the both of you will lose something rather important. I empathize at the ramifications of the threat I was more than willing to carry out as the two of them nodded their heads vigorously in agreement. Now will you kindly introduce yourselves? The blonde stood up and pointed to himself. My name is Naruto Uzumaki, the future Hokage of Konoha no Sato, he said while giving a fox-like smile that made him even more adorable. It took everything I had not to repeat my actions earlier and glomp him right then and there. He elderly man does a lit dance that was in my opinion too awkward for words until he finishes and strikes a pose. My name is Jiraiya of the Sannin, the legendary Toad Sage and author of the highly popular Ika Ika series. He said as he approaches me and looks at me, trying to assess me. You seem to be lacking something. He didn't get a chance to finish his sentence as I pull bulwark and bind them to create the chain revolver and fired, sending him into the air. And at the apex of the attack the Gatling gun changes into a rocket launcher and I fire it, hitting him right on the money. Apologizing for my actions, I introduced myself. My name is Lieutenant Noel Vermilion of the Novus Orbis Librarium at your service. I finished as Naruto and Jiraiya looked at me in confusion. Nally, Jiraiya snapped out of his stupor and looked at us. Well, Miss Vermilion, me and my ungrateful student. Naruto gives him a raspberry at the remark, are returning home after being away for 2.5 years on a training trip. If you are interested, we would be more than happy to take you with us until you are settled in, he said. The way he was speaking, it made me somewhat uncomfortable, though he was subtly trying to hit on me, but he was also being sincere in the fact that they would protect me until I arrive in their village. Finally I decide to give my answer. I would more than be happy to accompany the two of you, I said as the three of us pack up the camp. I was amazed how Jiraiya sealed the equipment into a scroll. After making sure the campsite was clean, we headed off to Konoha. To be continued. Okay, that takes care of chapter 2, and I decided to provide information on the characters in the BLA Blue series in each chapter I get from Wikipedia. So I'll start with the female protagonist in the series, Noel Vermilion. Noel Vermilion. Character voice: Kanako Kondo, JP, Christina Valenzuela, ENG. This young girl was found amidst the burning fields of Ikaruga where she was rescued. And then adopted by the family of Vermilion. It was because of her outstanding combat activity that she became a high-ranking member of the Noel using the Nox Nictors, Arcus Diabolus, Bulwark, revolver. Which apparently does not fire actual bullets but rather inflicts damage by creating distortions in dimensional space. Noel also seems to be extremely reliant psychologically on her guns. To the point where she breaks down crying if they are taken away from her. She was made Jin's subordinate by the Noel, although Jin treated her poorly due to her resemblance of Saya. Jin rushed off to hunt down Ragna without permission from the Noel. Noel was assigned to stop him and bring him back to his post at the library. In truth, Noel suffers from amnesia. She is actually Mu-12, the predecessor of Nu-13 and also the final boss in console version of Continuum Shift. Both are replicas of Saya, sharing her face, voice, and memories. She was being immersed in the boundary in the opening of story mode. Though after the attack that destroyed Ikaruga she remains the sole survivor in that area. She eventually becomes the true possessor of the Azure Grimoire. She is easily won over by small, cute animals and has an inferiority complex with her bosom. In Continuum Shift, she begins staying with Ragna, who starts caring for her much like he did with Saya. After realizing that Jin has left the hospital he went to after the injuries received by Ragna near the end of Calamity Trigger's true end story, Noel sets off to find him on her own accord. Noel's drive is chain revolver, which allows her to chain attacks together. Next time, arriving in Konoha. As always me. Okay folks, please keep the reviews coming. They are the lifeblood of a fanfic. You know I don't own BlazBlue or Naruto in any shape or form. And I have to thank Sunny Ninja for the squirrel punch joke. Now on to fanfiction. Noel's POV. After walking for what seemed like hours I've to see a wall and two people guarding a gate. I look at the two and realize that we have arrived at Konoha. Halt. State you business. The first guard said when we approached, all the while giving Naruto a glare that indicated that he absolutely hates him for some reason. Naruto ignores the man as Jiraiya returns a glare of his own that looked as though it would melt steel. Jiraiya and Naruto. Uzumaki returning to Konoha from a training trip along with Noel Vermilion, who wishes to speak to Lady Tsunade. Jiraiya spoke with authority in his voice that tell the man that insubordination would not be tolerated. The man started to sweat as the gates opened and we were allowed into the village and we walked inside. It has been almost 3 years, huh? Naruto asks Jiraiya as the pervert nodded. All of a sudden Naruto leaps into the air and lands on top of a nearby water tower. Ladies and gentlemen, Naruto Uzumaki has returned to the Hidden Leaf Village. Naruto shouted as he stares out to the village, and for a moment he gazes at the village, taking in the nostalgia of being home. From what Jiraiya said, it has been nearly 3 years since he left the village in order to become stronger. Looks like they put Grandma Tsunade's face up there. It's only a matter of time until my face is up there, he commented as he jumps down from the water tower, rejoining us. Ah, Naruto, it's good to have you back, a voice said as I turn my head to see a man dressed in black ninja gear but with a mask that covers the lower half of his face and the headband covering his left eye. His gravity-defying silvery white hair gives the impression of that of a scarecrow. Kakashi-sensei. The feeling's mutual, Naruto said as he hugged his teacher and they are not doing the infamous sunset jutsu, so to be clear. After the two parted they talked amongst themselves to catch up when a blonde-haired honey-eyed woman walked up to them and immediately noticed that her assets dwarfed that of Lychee. I slumped my shoulders in defeat at the fact no matter where I go I cannot escape people that are superior to me when it comes to having the necessary assets. First it was Lychee forcing me to do cosplay, which I still have nightmares about. Then it was Taukaka and her nickname for me, Lacking Lady, then that ninja bang mistaking me for a boy, and now this. What is it with female doctors having superior breasts? I mean, I'm sexy in a cute way. I mean, sure, I don't have breasts men would drool at, but I'm sure sexy as hell. The other girls complimented me on that and even a few of them asked me out. I do seem to remember that me, Makoto and Tsubaki went drinking on the night of our graduation from the academy, though the morning after was a blur. I thought mentally with a massive blush at The memory of that night I wish I could remember as she introduced herself as Tsunade Senju, the Hokage and the head of the medical corps. My name is Noel Vermilion. It is a pleasure to meet you. I said as Tsunade merely tells me to call her Tsunade. She shakes her head and tells me to skip all the formal crap and call her Tsunade since Naruto has a habit of calling her grandma. I mentally picked Naruto being bashed over the head with a cane by elderly Tsunade. Don't let her appearance fool you, she's actually in her 50s. She's using a type of jutsu that hides her age. Naruto snort. As Tsunade grew angry, and the next thing I knew Tsunade slams a fist into Naruto's face with enough force to send him flying into a nearby building. Naruto slams into the side of the building with a resounding boom that echoed throughout the village and creates a large dust cloud. When the dust settled, there was a hole in the shape of Naruto's body, while inside Naruto was out like a light. Scary. I thought. As a moment later Naruto recovers and groans as the injuries fade from him. Now that's that out of the way, I need you at the office because I have something important to give you. Tsunade said as she turned to return to the Hokage Tower as Naruto pointed out the location of said tower. To be continued. Me. Well, that takes care of chapter 3. Next time. Good news for Naruto. Bad news for the Kunal. This chapter will cover the main protagonist Ragna the Bloodedge. Ragna the Bloodedge. Character voice. Tomokazu Sugita, JP, Patrick Seitz, ENG. The main protagonist of BlazBlue, also known as the Grim Reaper. He is feared by the Noel for being the most powerful individual to have ever rebelled against them since the Ikaruga Civil War and destroying countless number of their branch. Which has labeled his as the most wanted criminal to receive the largest bounty ever in the history of the Noel. He possesses a powerful form of Armagus called the Azure Grimoire, BlazBlue in the Japanese version, which is often either the secondary or primary target of those after his bounty. His ultimate goal is to destroy the library, for he blames them for killing his family. He is Jin's biological brother, whose rivalry with him stems from an incident that happened with their sister, Saya, who is presumed to be dead. His right arm is mechanical because his real one was cut off by Terumi, who took control of Jin's mind. He was resurrected by Rachel as a Dhampir, causing one of his green eyes to turn red, and his once blonde hair to white. The Azure Grimoire he possesses is only a fragment of an imitation, and the real grimoire is actually destined to be wielded by Noel Vermilion. The name, Bloodedge, refers to the red jacket and sword given to Ragna by Jubei before he left. Both items belong to an obscure warrior named Bloodedge, who fought the Black Beast in order to protect the people, and gave the time they needed to have the 6 heroes formed and Ars Magus developed. Jubei called him a friend and a true hero, and Ragna took on the title as Jubei saw in his student a great potential. During the events of Continuum Shift, Ragna has taken Noel into his care, and starts caring for her much like he did with his sister Saya. In Continuum Shift's true ending, he absorbs Lambda's news idea engine, though the status of it is unknown since he uses it to free Noel from the Murakumo armor, causing her to be Mew. Ragna's drive, Soul Eater, steals health from the opponent. I know the title's long, but it gets the point across. Typical disclaimers apply. I do not own Naruto or BlazBlue in any shape or form. All the characters in this FIC will be OOC for a reason, but then again, when writing fan fiction all characters are OOC. Naruto's POV. As we head towards to the Hawk Age Tower, I let the memories drift in my head, the times I ran down the street to catch the lunch rush at Ichiku's and talking to the old man about stories from being a genin under the first and second Hokage. He said the moment that he was told that he was to be the third Hokage, he felt as though he wouldn't become good enough and almost gave up taking the position, but it was the first that reaffirmed his determination to become Hokage. The old man said when he took up the chance to teach, he felt instinctively that they would become one of, if not the greatest trio in the world, but he said his only regret is that he failed to save his most promising student from falling into the dark. At first I didn't realize who his students were until Jiraiya explained how the 3 of them earned the title Sannin from Hanzo during the midst of the Second Shinobi War, and how his former friend Orochimaru seemed haunted by the end of the war. Jiraiya explained that to some people can never truly recover from the horrors of war. Even he said that he sometimes had nightmares of some of the bloody battles that he fought in and the deaths of the ninjas that fought bravely alongside him. Dying screams echoes in his head from time to time. Ironically, The only time he feels truly at peace is when he's conducting his research. He says the innocence of those times almost makes him forget the hell of war. I snap out of my thoughts as we approach the tower. As we head through the waiting room that leads into the Hokage's office, my eyes drifted towards the receptionist's desk. I remember that she was one of the few civilians that genuinely cared about me. Every time I visited, she gave me a piece of caramel and patted me on the head. I learned that she died during the sound invasion when she protected a small child from being stabbed by a kunai from a sound nin. I visited her daughter and offered my condolences as she cried into my shoulder as she was packing up her mother's things. I step into the office and could almost immediately smell the tobacco that the old man smoked. I shake my head to clear my mind and focus at what Tsunade wanted to tell me. Noel and Jiraiya stands next to me. As Tsunade sits behind her desk and pulls out a bottle of sake and drinks a cup before starting. As you know, since we are at war with the Akatsuki, it is with great pleasure that I hereby promote you to the rank of Chunin. She spoke as she reached underneath the desk and pulls out a green flak vest and hands it to me. May you wear this with pride, she said as I broke down and cried at now buying. One step closer to achieving my dream of becoming Hokage. After a moment I pull away, wiping a tear from my eye as Jiraiya smiles approvingly while Noel was confused at the scene before her. Ah, sorry, I forgot you were a civilian. You see, I just promoted Naruto from his previous rank since the thorns in my side. The civilian council is hell-bent on making sure that Naruto never achieves his dream of taking my place as Hokage. Now normally Naruto has to take the Chunin exams in order to advance, but since he council hates Naruto for reasons that only he can tell you when he feels comfortable, another way for him to get promoted is not that well known, since it can only be used during wartime conditions, and as such I decided to use this in order to secure a strong Chunin and improve our forces. I'm also doing this in part to piss them off for screwing him over in the past. Tsunade explained as Noel relaxes. Tsunade then clears her throat, indicating that she wasn't finished speaking. I turn my attention to her. As you probably know by now, with this promotion the number of missions that you take will increase since you have proven the responsibility of handling such a task, she said as she handed me a scroll. This was entrusted by your father upon his death. You were to receive this when you become Chunin or reach the age of 18. As you may have guessed from time to time, striking resemblance between you and the fourth Hokage Minato Namikaze. And you probably suspected that you might be related to him in some shape or form. What I am about to tell you must not leave the confines of the village. You are indeed the son of the fourth Hokage. His reasons for sealing the Kyuubi into you were to protect the village that he loved so much. I was there the night he sealed the Kyuubi into you. His dying words were that you were going to be destined for great things and that he and your mother loved you very much, she said as I opened the scroll. It was a letter from my father. Dear son, if you are reading this, then one of the conditions that I set out for you has been fulfilled. Your mother and I were blessed when we found out that your mother was pregnant with you. You should have seen her face when she got the news. Smirks. She was practically bursting with so much energy we could barely contain her from driving us insane. Those were some of the best moments that we've had together. We always wanted to start a family when we got married, so it came as a shock that when we heard that the Kyuubi was heading towards Konoha, I knew what was to be done. For days I spent researching for a way to seal the Kyuubi, and on the night the Kyuubi appeared I found my answer, and it was to seal it into a human body, but it had to be a newborn since a normal human couldn't stand the sheer power of the charka of the Kyuubi. So it was with a heavy heart that I had to use you to seal the Kyuubi away. My only wish is that the villagers see you as a hero for constantly keeping the Kyuubi at bay. And my only regret is that your mother and I would not be here to see you grow up to become a great ninja like I am. I suppose you want to know more about your mother. Well, our mom name was Kushina Uzumaki, and she was known throughout the Third Ninja War as the Bloody Habanero, and when she attended the academy her nickname was Tomato Head, to which she would beat the crap out of you. That's one of the things I loved about her. I would imagine right about now she'd be kicking my ass for not making sure that you get any mementos of us since the vultures on the civilian sea council hated me for my plans of reform and would more than likely take it out on you. But remember one thing. Since you're a Namikaze, let's just say paybacks can be a real bitch. With love, your father Minato Namikaze. I smile at the heartfelt message that my dad has left for me. I promise to honor your last wish and become Hokage. I whisper as I raise my head with an evil smirk. That's not out of place with a prank that my father would have when he's about to execute a prank of epic proportions. I could see Tsunade, Jiraiya and Noel shudder as a plan forms in my head. 1 hour later in the council meeting room, Tsunade's POV. The plan that Naruto has come up with is both brilliant and scary. I awaited the council as I mentally prepare for the chaos that this plan will ensure. First the Shin Obi Council enters and takes their respective seats. A few minuets later the Civilian Council enters and takes their places. I smiled at what will happen next. Ladies and gentlemen, I hereby call this meeting to order. We are here today to discuss the return of Naruto Uzumaki from his training trip with Jiraiya. I decided to promote him to the rank of Chunin under wartime conditions since we are of this moment at war with the Akatsuki. I spoke and awaited the typical reactions from the civilians. As usual, they shouted their disapproval when the doors to the room opens dramatically and Naruto walks in wearing his new Chunin vest. "Ah, and here I thought you guys missed me," Naruto said cheekily as one member decided to voice her opinions of him. "Shut up, you filthy demon. You are a disgrace to the village, and if it wasn't for the Third's law you would be lying dead in a trash heap like the piece of shit that you are," she said before Jiraiya slams his fist into her stomach. Naruto sighs at her actions. Now, is there anyone else willing to say their piece before I talk? No. Good then. You see, I am the son of Minato Namikaze and Kushina Uzumaki. I was given the letter from my father an hour ago, Naruto said as one man stands heavily bandaged glaring at him. Naruto's POV. The demon lies. All hospital records were destroyed the night of the Kyuubi attack, so your claim is invalid, he said as the civilians look at me as though they were hungry sharks. A female member I easily recognized as Sakura's mother due to the pink hair begins screaming obscenities at me. Seriously, there must be a law against nature for having pink hair. I thought to myself as I remember after a month under Jiraiya he made me realize that Sakura was useless and didn't deserve me or anyone else for that matter. I'm still wondering if either there was something in the water or I was placed under a genjutsu for even remotely liking that pink-haired slut. I think to myself as Sakura's mom finally it's yelling long enough to catch her breath. That's right, since this no-name demon here has no proof that he's related to the fourth, he'll be executed at once for false impersonation of a political figure. She smirked in triumph as I started to laugh. What's so funny, demon brat? She screeches as I raise my hand to silence the elder monkey. Is that so? Then this authentic copy of my birth certificate is fake. Then, I said casually as I produce a scroll of said certificate, and the looks on the civilians was priceless as they now realize that they are royally fucked and not in a good way. As heir to the Namikaze clan, I demand compensation for the abuse from the villagers as well as the Uchiha clan for attacking a clan heir, I said in a clear voice as I stare them down, making them flink. Knowing that I haven't yet begun the torture. But as always, Haruno has decided to speak out against this. Why in the hell should the Uchiha clan compensate you? She demanded as I march over to her and literally backhand her with enough force to send her crashing to the floor. Shut your mouth and open your ears. The Uchiha clan attacked me from when I was 5 up until Itachi killed the entire clan. That means that they owe me for physical and mental trauma, I said coldly as Tsunade clears her throat, catching everyone's attention to her. Perhaps I have a solution to this. I am awarding you monetary compensation in the form of 1/3 of the Uchiha district to be under your ownership to do with whatever you please, 50% of the money from the Uchiha clan account and any and all jutsus that are in their possessions, she said as I could catch the glimpse of a smirk hidden from the others. Clearly she's enjoying this. I guess it's time to go in for the kill, I thought as I smiled, and one final condition came to me just then. Very well, I accept the compensation on the conditions that each and every member of the civilian council pays me 80% of their annual wages for the next 16 years to make up for the assassination attempts and all other attempts on my life. Not only that, I also wish to have possession of the Uchiha clan house and everything in it, I said as they paled, and the Shinobi council could barely contain their glee as a newly promoted Chunin is finally turning the tables on the infernal civilian council. Tsunade smiles and slams a stamp on a document scroll. Deal. C. Congratulations Naruto, you are now in control of 1/3 of the Uchiha district. If for any reason Sasuke or Itachi Uchiha is unable to reclaim their share of the property they own, it shall automatically be transferred to you. Also, since you are the last member of both the Uzumaki and Namikaze clans, you are eligible for the Clan Restoration Act, which allows you to be able to have more than one wife. He said as I thanked her and take the document. I humbly thank you. If you would please excuse me, I have a clan house to raid and move into. I said as I flipped them off and teleported out of the room. I walked down the street later laughing at the greatest prank of all time, considering I found out who my parents were, got promoted to Chunin and screwed the council out of some serious money and tea. Aiken 1/3 of the Uchiha district all in one day. Life is good. I smile to myself as I head to Ikaraku and planning on giving old man Tuki and Ayame the biggest tip they have ever received. To be continued. Me. Now personally, the whole Kushina being the previous host to the Kyuubi is nothing more than a deus ex machina effect that did not make any sense to me, so I decided to ignore that and just have the Kyuubi on a rampage only to be sealed away. Next time. After settling into the Uchiha clan house, Sakura seeks him out and tries to attack only to be stopped by Noel. What happens next? Going to have to wait until next time. This chapter focuses on the Jin Ichimaru wannabe Hazama. Hazama, Yuki Terumi. Character voice. Yuichi Nakamura, Seiyu, JP, Duggar Holtz, ENG. The main agonist of Continuum Shift and one of the 6 heroes. Terumi is actually a ghost who has taken the alias Hazama, a captain of the NOL's intelligence division. At first, he appears to be supervising Noel's actions to keep her in line. But he has a sinister hidden agenda. In truth, he is actually Yuki Terumi, the creator of the BlazBlue and the mastermind responsible for cutting off Ragna's arm, hacking off Jin's mind, presumably killing Saya, and most likely causing the space-time distortions. Most who are aware of his presence regard him with contempt and perhaps even fear, as Rachel defiantly stands up to him in one path, but does not attack him in many of the events of BlazBlue, Calamity Trigger. Against Rachel's warnings, Noel says the words, Dark Susanoo, upon looking at Terumi. Jube. Ian Hakumen mentioned that the seal holding him may have been broken and Takamagahara may have been reactivated, and Jubei notifies Hakumen of his return. He seems to be at odds with the other remaining members of the 6 heroes. Kokono has a murderous attitude toward him because he killed her mother, 9, and in Terumi's own words, Rachel is the only being currently capable of keeping up with him. At the end of story mode, he issues confidential verbal orders to Tsubaki to kill Noel and Jin. Originally appeared as sub-character in the BlazBlue, Calamity Trigger story mode. In Continuum Shift he is a playable character. He wields a Nox Nictors, Geminis Anguium, Ouroboros, a pair of butterfly knives which allows him to summon chains that hang in the air and can be used to swing him back and forth or attack his opponents. It can directly attack the mind and psyche of the victim. It is also revealed that Terumi was one of the 6 heroes, although he states that the 6 heroes were never buddies. In the arcade ending, it is revealed that he was the creator of the Murakumo units as well as the Black Beast, which according to him was a failed product in his quest to create the sword to slay the gods, Kusanagi. He also created the Azure Grimoire, and even has his own grimoire similar to Ragna's. He wants to use Noel, the perfect Murakumo unit, Mu-12, to create Kusanagi, which old destroy the Senkushin unit, Amaterasu, and plunge the world into eternal despair, out of the belief that the world is filled with nothing but lies. By the end of CS True End, he ends up killing the Takamagahara, the gods of order. And it is revealed that he is the subordinate of the Imperator Librarius, the head of the Noel. Hazama's drive, Ouroboros, summons chains to attack the opponent endlessly. As always, me. Folks, I admit the previous chapter I just made it up as I went along. When I finished I was struck by inspiration, have Naruto sell all of Sasuke's and Itachi's things and burn the rest. For all the Sasuke lovers out there, I'm sorry, but lately he's been pretty much an ass, so I don't feel sorry for what I'm about to do. Typical disclaimers apply. I do not own Naruto or BlazBlue in any shape or form. Naruto's POV. It has now been 2 weeks since I own 1/3 of the Uchiha district, and during that time I had to split my time between checking over my new property, Figu, ring out ways to use it and trying to avoid hostile mobs for, and I quote, taking the glorious Uchiha home from the village. As they put it, and what's worse, the still loyal Sasuke fan club were in on it, including my now ex-teammate Sakura. Flashback. It has been 5 days since my recent compensation and Noel and I were walking along the streets of Konoha. Noel is wearing casual clothes as opposed to the Noel uniform. She's wearing a blue and white flower dress and flats and her hair braided AN. Similar to New 13 in Calamity Trigger, when all of a sudden a feeling of dread was heading this way. I carefully turned my head towards the source, and to my dismay it was Sakura and Ino, the two presidents of the Sasuke fan club. Sakura stomps towards me with her fists clenched while Ino was following along reluctantly. Na rrr Rutu. Sakura screams at me while Noel clutches her ears due to the decibel levels that Sakura is exceeding from her screaming. I merely raise an eyebrow at her. Yes, how can I help you? I said in a calm manner, all the while mentally shaking, fearing for my life. My mother was right, you are a demon. And stealing Sasuke's home like the demon that you are, she said as she started to swing her fists aiming for my head, only to be stopped by Noel, who had her weapons out in a flash of light and had the barrel of her bulwark pointed at her large forehead. And the other barrel pointed at her heart. Try it, you pink-haired bitch, Noel said in a rather cold voice that surprised me from a girl as nice as Noel. Sakura scoffed at her. Who the hell are you? You dumb blonde, she said angrily despite the gun pointed at her obviously large forehead. My name is Lieutenant Noel Vermilion of the Noel, and by orders of Lady Tsunade you are under arrest for attempted assault on a clan heir. Noel spoke with the authority that comes with the territory. Sadly, Sakura decided to be stupid despite her book smarts. A clan heir? Ha, as if the demon is woe. RTHY enough to be one in the first place, blondie. Is that you actual hair color? She taunted, earning a death glare worthy of the Shinigami. You're one to talk, Pinky. I bet that your brain is full of fluff. Noel fired back. Yeah right, my hair is all natural unlike your implants. Sakura practically shouted. I winced at the insult since Noel is very sensitive about that taboo subject. Pee away from them to avoid a possible catfight. I'll have you know that these are more real than your figure, Noel said as I can sense her patience on the breaking point. Beach bunny, Sakura shot back with an almost triumphant smirk, but was quickly dashed by the final insult from Noel. Well, if I'm a beach bunny, I guess that makes you the surfboard. You pink-haired, loud, screeching, banshee impersonating red-ass monkey-humping bitch, she screamed as Ino looked on in shock at the devastating insult that Noel delivers, sending Sakura into a fit of rage. Play bullet dance at this point. Cha! Sakura screams, slamming her fist into the ground with enough force to send shockwaves through the ground, knocking the three of us to the ground. Noel quickly recovers and pointed her bulwark at Sakura. Optic barrel, she announced as the symbol for her armagus appears out of thin air right on Sakura, and then a small explosion sending Sakura into the air while in midair. Noel's bulwarks va niche as she places her hands in a familiar sign. What the hell? I thought, as she produced a single shadow clone and the real one runs to the other side of Sakura and both of them summons their bulwark. And before Sakura could even hit the ground, both of their bulwarks changed into the Gatling gun and fired, hitting Sakura, sending her back into the air before they shifted into a rocket launcher and fired not one but two rockets, hitting her dead on. End song now. Ino looked on in wonder at the fight before snapping out of it. Hey Naruto, look, Sakura dragged me here. I just wanted to apologize or all the stuff I said back in the academy. Okay. When I learned what happened 3 years ago, I decided to quit being delusional and be more serious about being a ninja. So can you forgive me for being such an idiot? Ino asks with a few tears streaming down her face. I could not hate a cute face like that. Please wipe your tears away, Ino. I've already forgiven you, I said. When Ino heard this, she dries her eyes and gives me a large hug and a kiss on the face. She pulls away, wiping a tear from her face. So what do you want to do with her? Ino asks as she gently nudges Sakura with her foot. Normally I'd suggest taking her to Granny, but considering that this is Sakura we're talking about, I'm thinking something more drastic, I said with a devious gleam in my eyes. 10 minuets later, the male side of the hot springs. A ear-piercing scream echoes across Konoha as the confirmation that Sakura has woken up staring at the various naked men has mentally scarred her for life. I laugh as I imagine the look on Sakura's face when she wakes up hanging upside down on the male side of the hot springs. Noel and Ino hears the screams as well and started laughing as well. By the way, how did you perform the shadow clone jutsu? I thought it was a Junin technique. Ino asks as we headed towards my new home. Well, I watched Naruto use it a few times while he was moving things around and I decided to try it out for myself. After a bit of trial and error I got it to work. Noel explained as she sat down on one of the benches in the district. Noel, the technique is very dangerous since it literally divides your chakra depending on the number of clones you can produce. For example, if you are very low on chakra and try to use this technique, you'd run the risk of literally killing yourself when you perform it, since it divides your chakra to create the clone. But the upside of the technique is its main purpose of scouting, since the information that it learns can be transferred back to the user after it dispels. I explained as Noel's eyes widened at the implications. I'm sorry Naruto, I promised to be more careful. I thought that since you can use a large amount of them, it should be okay for me to use it as well. Noel said with sincerity as I kissed her forehead, earning a small blush from her. End flashback. I'm still laugh at the memory of Sakura being on the receiving end of Noel's bulwarks as I was finishing up cleaning the attic of the now former Uchiha clan house when I noticed a box that says, Sasuke's baby clothes, and a plan starts to form in my head. Hidden sound base. Sasuke Uchiha, the younger brother of Itachi the clan killer, shuddered as though the Shinigami brushed his soul and found it disappointing. Shaking the feeling off, he continues heading to see Orochimaru about his physical. Hint hint. 1 week later. Noel's POV. I walked out of the apartment that I was staying in and decided to visit Naruto. Since the incident, I've been very busy applying become a ninja of Konoha. I wonder if I should take Naruto out for ramen since he's been so busy at the Uchiha compound. I thought to myself as I noticed a very large crowd in front of the district. There was loud carnival-like music playing. I moved through the crowd to see Naruto dressed as a carny, complete with the straw hat and cane, talking into a megaphone. Come one, come all to the first and only Uchiha garage sale and bonfire. That's right folks, everything must go. You want Sasuke's baby clothes? Itachi's personal Ika Ika series collection. Makoto's lingerie. Fugaku's scrolls on fire jutsus. You want it, I have it. And at the end of the day, anything that hasn't been sold will be burned. So come on in. Naruto announced as a clone was directing traffic. I walked up to Naruto, seriously questioning his sanity. Naruto, what the hell is this? I whispered loudly as Naruto gives me a foxy grin. Simple. I'm multitasking. By selling the Uchiha personal effects, not only will I wall out with a bit of pocket money, but I'll also appease the Uchiha fan club and set things up for a place to live. Naruto explains as a clone walked up to Naruto and whispered into his ear. Naruto frowns as he heads inside the district. I follow him inside, sensing that there could be trouble. We walk until I heard a familiar screech of Sakura and we started to run over to the source. When we arrive, I could see Sakura and some other girls literally taking things and putting them into a pile. I recognized that they were Naruto's things and immediately rushed over. Sakura, what is the meaning of this? Naruto demanded in a loud voice that made the looters stop, only to continue by a glare from Sakura. Simple demon, since you're going to burn our precious Sasuke's things, I thought that we should do the same to your things. And demon orphan like yourself doesn't deserve anything, she said as the look in her eyes tells you that she's lost it completely and was about to flash her hands through hand signs when a large amount of killing intent emanated from Lady Tsunade that was apparently attending the sale. Sakura paled as well as the attending looters as Tsunade marched over to Sakura with the promise of death in her eyes. Sakura Haruno. Never in all my years have I seen such disregard for a teammate. You are no longer my apprentice starting now, she booms as Sakura started to BLE in a pathetic attempt to get in her good graces, only for her to be on the receiving end of one of her infamous punches, sending her skyward to parts unknown. You'd know if I had realized how much of a bitch she was, I would not even had accepted her as an apprentice, she said as she snapped her fingers, summoning the Anbu to take the others away for interrogation. Naruto looked at Tsunade's saddle. Why, he's probably thinking that he's responsible for this mess. I thought as I placed my hand on Naruto's shoulder. It's not your fault that the pink banshee screwed up her own life, and that seeming why snapped him out of his depression as an idea seemed to spring from his eyes. Granny, I have an idea. Why not take Hinata as an apprentice? You see, during the second portion of the Chunin exams after I fought against Kiba, she gave me some ointment that she made herself. I talked to Kurenai-sensei later after Hinata was recovering, and she said that she's always wanted to learn medical jutsu sync. She really doesn't like to hurt people. Naruto explained as Tsunade thought about what he said. Very well, I will have to talk to Hinata and Kurenai about this, but I think we can work something out. By the way, I was browsing around and I found Itachi's journal and would like to buy it. Tsunade said as she produced the journal and 1550 ryo for it and handed it to Naruto. Well, now I have to head back and deal with the paperwork. She said the last part as though it was a vile curse. Suddenly a thought crosses my mind. Pardon me, but can't you use shadow clones to reduce the amount of paperwork? I ask, earning an incredulous look as though I helped solve the mystery of life. Noel, I am awarding you S-rank pay for solving the bane of all cages, she said as she walked back towards the tower with an extra spring in her step. Later that night I watched as the official bonfire begins and see the various villagers looking on as the items that were not sold being burned. Naruto stands there with a contemplative look that says that he can't forgive himself. But for what? I'll ask him when he's ready to tell me. To be continued. Me. Wow, 5 worth a new record. This chapter will COV. The Lolita vampire princess herself, Rachel Alucard. Rachel Alucard. Character voice. Kana Ueda, JP, male Ali, ENG. A vampire and the current head of the noble Alucard family, Rachel slipped out of her castle in search of fun because she hates to be bored. Due to her hair ties, many characters call her Rabbit, a name that irritates her to no end, though Ragna seems to be the only one who can get away with calling her an idiot. Despite her status, however, she deeply loathes her vampiric impulses. She seems to be watching Ragna. This is because she accidentally turned him into a half-vampire, giving him his powers. This is also the reason behind his heterochromia and healing ability. Due to this, he is one of the only characters who is aware of her. She also watches and toys with the other characters of the game. Rachel can apparently create a small pocket dimension called Requiem, which is her interface with Dream World. She is often accompanied by her familiars, Nago and Gi, whom she often treats very roughly, and is supervised by her butler and guardian Valkenhayn. Rachel is the only character seemingly aware of the full extent of the story, as well as the fact that time is repeating. Much of the reason for her frequent interference is an attempt to push them toward breaking the loop. Interestingly enough, in some late interactions it is revealed that she is possibly the most powerful of the playable characters, and as such the only one capable of taking on Terumi. She has control of the Tsukuyomi unit, which she uses to defend Kagutsuchi from an attack from the Nox Nictor's Gigant. Take Mikazuchi. In battle she has extensive control over lightning and wind. Sylphide, Rachel's drive, summons a gust of wind to blow both players in a given direction. Well folk, I decided to take a break from the main storyline for this chapter and going to do a bit of a comedic chap this time. Typical disclaimers apply. I do not own Naruto or BlazBlue in any shape or form. Naruto's POV. I walked towards the Hokage Tower after being informed of a C-rank mission within the village. The rest of the details are to be explained at the tower. When I arrived I noticed Noel wearing her standard Noel uniform minus the red ribbons that were attached to the sleeves. I pointed out to her that they would get tangled up or an enemy would use them to their advantage in combat. Afterwards she removed them, and a Chunin flak vest indicating that she was at Chunin or higher. When Noel was tested she was ranked as a high Chunin to low Junin level and Placidi on Team 7. Tsunade cleared her throat, getting our attention as she lay out the mission parameters. There have been reports of a hooded figure causing trouble for the restaurants due to numerous complaints of the suspect. Dining and dashing after eating a very large amount of foodstuffs, nearly emptying a restaurant's stock of food and leaving before that person could pay. Your mission is to capture this person and turn him into me. You will have the cooperation of the Anbu for this mission. Good luck, Tsunade said as she handed us the scroll containing the conditions for the mission. Where should we look first? Noel asks me as I thought about what we needed to do. I think the first thing is to interview the owners of the restaurants and try to get an accurate description of our suspect. For all we know, it could be an Akamichi under a genjutsu and the same one cast one to disguise himself in order to confuse the staff and customers. I said as we head to my favorite haunt, Ichiraku ramen stand, home of the Uzumaki special, and holds the world record for most bowls of ramen eaten, by a whopping 35. Ayame looked from the counter to us and greeted us as I ordered a bowl of miso and Noel orders a veggie special. "So what brings you two here today?" Ayame asks as I told her the mission that Tsunade gave us. Ayame had a hateful look in her eyes after that. "Noel's paw. I hope you catch her. She came in here and ate and left without paying," she said as Naruto drops his bowl in shock, and one could feel the killing intent radiate from him. To be honest, I was scared. How dare she disgrace this sacred ramen stand by running without paying? "I swear by the gods of ramen she shall pay," Naruto roared as he quickly paid for his ramen and rushed off with righteous fury. Ayame was wide-eyed at Naruto's reaction and shuddered. The last time he was like this, another restaurant threatened to burn our shop down if we don't stop serving Naruto. When Naruto found out, he went on a full-scale prank war that shut them after a week straight of constant pranks. When the owners left, they took one look at Naruto and ran away screaming for mercy. "I feel sorry for her when Naruto catches her," Ayame said as that catches my attention. "Excuse me, did you say that RD&D is a girl?" I asked, pulling out a notebook and started to take notes. D&D means Dine Dasher and not Dungeon and Dragons, to clarify. Ayame nodded as she thinks about what this mystery girl looks like. Let's see. She was wearing a hooded dress, light coat, but the hands ends in cat-like paws with 3 openings on each sleeve. The hood also had 2 triangle shapes as though there would be ears there. I really couldn't see her face, so I can't tell you what she looks like underneath the hood, but from what I could see, she had red eyes and pointed teeth. From what her skin looks like, it is a dark tan, so it's possible that she's from Kumo, but the way she talks is as though she's not all there mentally. And finally, she was wearing unusual boots. That's all I can tell you, I'm afraid, Ayame said as I made a mental image of the suspect, and to my abject horror I could only think of one person. Ayame, did this girl often say the word Dao, or Taukaka, instead of I, while talking? I asked her. She thought for a moment and then nodded in confirmation. I dropped my head in defeat. From the rumors in Orient Town, Taukaka is akin to an Akamichi in terms of food, but she never shows it, and not to mention her embarrassing nickname for me, Lacking Lady. I fought her once and I was lucky to avoid her sharp claws and her habit of pull-in seemingly random items from out of nowhere. Personally, I think Taukaka is a prime example of anime law 37, law of extra-dimensional capacitance. All anime females have an extra-dimensional stora space of variable volume somewhere on their person from which they can instantly retrieve any object at a moment's notice. This mysterious dimension is commonly called mallet space. First corollary. Also known as the hammer rule, the most common item stored is a heavy mallet, costumes, uniforms, power suits, armor, and large bazookas. When I heard a commotion nearby, fearing the worst, I rush over to the source. I arrived to the source to see Naruto and, to my confirmed dismay, Taukaka fighting each other, and from the way they were insulting each other, they apparently took this very seriously. Ramenholic. Dao screamed as she flung 3 bombs at Naruto. Bun freak. Naruto countered as he launched 3 kunais to slice the fuses of the bombs off, rendering them useless. Noodle slurper. Dao rang out as she jumped and tried to impale Naruto with her foot-long claws, only for Naruto to jump out of the way. Mouse muncher. Naruto growled as he summoned a shadow clone and jumped onto its shoulders and leaped off it and flew towards Dao and delivered an axe kick to the back of Dao's back, sending her careening to the ground only to recover and roll out of the way before Naruto's foot Ahmed into the ground where Dao was creating a small crater. After watching all this, I decided that enough was enough. I quickly hanged into Lychee and marched to them, surprised at how well I'm walking. Despite the heels that I'm wearing must be some form of instinctual owner's manual in order to quickly adapt. Makes sense since Lychee's legs are designed for high heels. My new form instantly allows me to walk in them with no problem. Although there is one thing I wonder. How in the hell can she stand up straight because of these balloons attached to my chest? I guess that's one of the great mysteries of the universe, I thought to myself as the weight of Lychee's breasts threatens to throw me off balance. Dao looked at my new form and rushes over, screaming her nickname for Lychee and fondles M. Why new assets, causing me to blush at the unwanted attention. Great, the only time I get attention because of my figure, and a cat girl with a penchant for meat buns threatens to literally eat them. I-4. Sabli shoved Dao out of the hold that she had me in. Dao, now is not the time. I want you to apologize to this young man this instantly. I said in an authoritative voice, and the desired effect happened. As Dao's ears lowered and she cringed. Meow sorry whisker face. Meow sorry booby lady. She said apologetically as I leaned down and stroked her hood as she calmed down. Now Dao, I want you to go the next village, since apparently the meat buns there are said to be better than mine. I said as I pointed in the direction to where Iwagakure. Her ears perked up and was about to leave when Naruto called out to her. Hey, before you leave, I'm wondering if you'd lower your hood. Naruto asks as Dao lifts her hands up and grabs the sides of her hood and slowly lowers it, to reveal another hood underneath a lighter shade than the previous hood. We fall to the ground as Dao runs off. We slowly stand up, realizing that we fell for the oldest trick in the book. This is the second time that this has happened. Naruto moaned. Then he explained the failed attempt to see underneath Kakashi's mask and the result of that incident. It turns out that he had another mask under the first. By the way, why did you send Dao to Iwa anyway? Naruto asks as a vindictive smirk crosses my face. Payback. While I was shopping yesterday, an Iwa ninja complained about my figure. I said as I imagined the looks on the faces of the ninjas there as the terror known as Taukaka would soon hit. To be continued. I know that it might not be up to par with ASW, but I had to try. Next time. Sands of Time. This PTER will cover the bottomless pit of meat buns. Taukaka. Character voice. Chiwa Saito, JP, Files Sampler, ENG. A resident of the Kaka village and member of the Kaka tribe, Taukaka is a cat girl. Wearing a large coat that obscures her true face, only exposing red eyes and a row of teeth. Whether or not this is her true face is a mystery. She wants to get back the sky above her village, which was sealed off by humans building cities above her village. She recently was sent by the elder to retrieve the bounty on Ragna's head, becoming a vigilante in the process. Despite this resolve, she is considerably food-obsessed and forgetful, often falling asleep on a whim, becoming hungry moments after a meal, or forgetting details moments after hearing them. She is good friends with Lychee, affectionately referring to her as Booby Lady. Although she doesn't seem to refer to anyone other than herself by name, she calls Ragna good guy, because he buys her food. Bang. Scruffy man. Erican, black squiggly. Noel, lacking lady. Hakuman, mask man. New -13 inches flappy flap. And Jubei, cat person. She is unable to recognize that Ragna the good guy and Rornya, the criminal, are the same person. Interesting to note is the fact that the Kaka tribe, which she hails from, is actually genetically engineered from the genes of Jubei, one of the 6 heroes. As a clan, they are copies of each other and cannot reproduce above 100 members. Taukaka exhibits superhuman physical strength, being able to fight continuously with other characters like Bang Shishigami and Noel Vermilion without any signs of exhaustion, and is also capable of surviving a fall from the top of Kagutsuchi completely unharmed. At the end of Continuum Shift True End, Dao is asked to travel with Ragna by Jubei. Taukaka's drive, Dancing Edge, allows her to move quickly around the screen while attacking. As always, Hoodie Who, Desert Fox, Breaking Fate's Curse Rebel 7, Desert Fox. Written by Jailargant. Here, we go with the Gaara retrieval arc, so get ready for Noel to fight Akatsuki. Typical disclaimers apply. I do not own BlazBlue or Naruto in any shape or form. Noel's POV. I walk into the Hokage Tower aft, being informed of a mission of utmost importance. When I arrive, I notice that Naruto, Kakashi and a girl around my age with dark purple hair and lavender pupil-less eyes. Noel, I am glad that you have arrived. We just received word that the Cage Gaara has been taken by a known terrorist group known as Akatsuki. Your mission is to accompany Naruto and Hinata to Suna and offer assistance. You are dismissed. Tsunade ordered as we exited the tower and make our way to the front gates. I notice Hinata walking next to me. Oh, I guess that we're working together. Hinata. My name is Noel Vermilion. It is a pleasure to meet you. I introduced myself as Hinata blushes at the attention. My name is Hinata Hyuga. It is my pleasure to work alongside you as well. Hinata said quietly and with a sly stutter. I'll need to help her gain some confidence in herself, and maybe she can help me as well. I thought as we make it to the gates and see Naruto and Kakashi having met him during the garage sale buying a set of books. Anyone who guesses what set of books I'm talking about wins a virtual chocolate chip cookie. Admit it, Kakashi-sensei. You're an even bigger pervert than Ebisu. Naruto said, pointing his finger at Kakashi all the while he's reading a book, ignoring his accusations. Kakashi notices this and closes his book in order to give out the mission parameters. After the recap, we headed off to our destination of Suna to rescue the cage. So Naruto, how do you know the cage? I ask while we're traveling through the trees, which I admit is far faster than going on foot, and the thrill of it makes it interesting. Before he became the cage, Gaara was a genin like me, and we fought each other in the Chunin exams when Suna and Sound invaded. That was one of the hardest battles I had ever fought. The other was when I fought my former teammate Sasuke. I still have the scar from the Chidori he rammed through my chest, almost hitting my heart, he said while his eyes were filled with hurt and pain at the memory. I grab his shoulder in a comforting manner. I'm sorry if I had brought up any bad memories by bringing that up, I said gently as Hinata watches with a look of jealousy in her eyes. Later, when we made camp, one noticed that Hinata was still glancing at me with loathing. I discreetly signaled her to follow me to another location, somewhere more private. When we finally find a spot, Hinata suddenly attacks me. I barely dodge her attack and demanded to know why she is attacking me. You know I love Naruto, you hussy. You're trying to move in on the person I love, but I won't let you. She growled as she started in on her assault. Stop this, Hinata. I don't really want to hurt you, I pleaded as I dodge yet another strike from Hinata's fingertips. When inspiration strikes. Hinata, what if I said if there's a way for us to share Naruto? I said as Hinata stops her attacks but looked to be on guard. What do you mean? She asks hesitantly as I dispel my armagus. Well, since Naruto is the last heir to both the Uzumaki and the Namikaze clans, he qualifies for the Clan Restoration Act (CRA), and he can have multiple wives in order to revive those clans. I looked up the information and it dates back to the time of the first Hokage. Since Konoha was relatively new at the time the law was placed in order to encourage a clan to have a harem in order to secure a future for the next generation. After the major clans gave birth to a number of offsprings, the law was forgotten, but it is still in the books, therefore it is still valid. Besides, I see Naruto only as a friend for the moment. I might go out with him, but it's still too early to tell, I said as the information washes over her. Finally she walks away, but after a few steps she turns to face me with a smile on her face. I'm sorry for overreacting like that. Ever since I first met Naruto, I've been working hard to become stronger, and I let my jealousy get in the way of that. If you do decide to get together with Naruto, I would have no problem with sharing him with you. With that, Hinata turns and continues back to the camp. Well, it looks like I didn't have to get involved after all, Kakashi's voice said behind me. Startled, I jump in the air and turn to see him standing there as though he's been there the whole time. How long were you here? I ask angrily as he merely shrugs his shoulders. When Hinata apologized for attacking you. You told her about the CRA, didn't you? He said as I could faintly see a perverse look in his eye. I shrugged my shoulders. It was either that or get killed by her. When I first met her, I could tell that she needs the confidence boost by being around Naruto, so I told her the truth, that I see him as a friend for the moment. Kakashi nodded. Fair enough, now let's get back to camp. I have a bet going with Kurenai that Naruto would lose his virginity to Hinata before the mission's over. He giggled perversely as we walk back to camp. Omake. Where's Sakura landed? Lychee's paw. It's another slow day today, doctor, my assistant Lihuna said as she started to hang out the bed sheets to dry. I sigh in agreement. For the past week we've been having very few visitors, and part of me is glad that people are taking good care of themselves, but another part of me wishes that there was more patience to alleviate my ever-increasing boredom. Yawn. Yes, it has been that way all week. If I don't get another patient soon, I'll drink myself into a stupor just so I can get treated for it, I said as I reached for the sake cup just as I was about to put the cup to my lips. A large crash makes me drop the cup. I growl in annoyance as I make my way to the door to the clinic and open it to see a large crater. I lean in to see what caused the crack. I was surprised to see a girl slightly older than Lihuna wearing a red dress and sandals. Her bright pink hair and oversized forehead catches my attention. Doctor, should we treat her? Lihuna asks. As I look over the girl in the crater I shake my head in disgust. Normally I would say yes, but with her oversized forehead it acted as a cushion from the impact. Besides, I like having cute girls cosplay, and cute she isn't. I said as I literally drag Lihuna back into the clinic, deciding to have Lihuna cosplay for me. Finally I found a way to alleviate my boredom. End omake. Me. Okay, chapter 7 is done. Next time. Encounter with a weasel and shark. This chapter will cover the good Dr. Lichi Fei Ling. Lichi Fei Ling. Character voice. Chiok Takahashi, JP, Lauren Landa, ENG. A renowned doctor living in Orient Town. Located in Kagutsuchi. She owns a clinic there and is helped by her assistant Lihuna. She worked with Tager and Kokono in Sector 7 until the incident where an Una man of importance to Lichi became Erikan. She defends the local townspeople from Erikan and seeks to restore him to his former self through any means necessary, even through death. She also seems to respect Bang, even apologizing to him if she defeats him in a match, although she remains unaware of the true extent of his feelings for her. She is often subject to adoration for her noticeably large bust, particularly from Taukaka, who likes to grope them. She is well known and trusted by the Kaka clan living beneath Kagutsuchi, often bringing them food or teaching their members. At some point, she took an object from the boundary, her panda hairpiece named Lao Ju. It acts as an amplifier of Seether, and seems to allow her control over her staff. She is also the main character in the supplemental, Teach Me, Miss Lichi episodes, where she attempts to teach Taukaka the intricacies of the BlazBlue world. During her Continuum Shift story mode, she encounters Erikan, who in his one moment of sanity warns her to stop using Lao Ju or she will become just like him. But by the end of CS True End, she is forced to join the Noel after Relius captures Erikan as a hostage with the Promi. Say that the Noel has the means to cure Erikan if she joins them. Lichi's drive, Mantenbu, controls her autonomous staff of the same name. As always, Hoodie Who, Weasel and Shark, Breaking Fate's Curse Rebel 8, Weasel and Shark. Written by Jailargant. Me. Here we are with Chapter 8 of the epic story of defying fate and love. Man, I sound real cheesy saying that, anyhow typical disclaimers apply. I do not own BlazBlue or Naruto in any shape or form, and since it is October I thought I should give you guys a treat. A bonus character profile of Platinum, the Trinity's character profile from Wikipedia as well. And to try Oblivion you won yourself a cookie. Noel's Pav. After meeting up with Temnari, who is Gaara's older sister, we camp for the night. I decide to keep watch and Naruto decided that I needed the company. So Noel, you mentioned that you were a member of the Noel. What was it like for you growing up? Naruto asks me as I sip on the makeshift coffee that was made. Well, to be honest, I was found in a place called Ikaruga with no memory of my past. At the time there was a war happening in Ikaruga and they didn't know whether I was an enemy or not, but they figured that since I had amnesia, I would eventually regain my memories and they would interrogate me for vital information. When they realized that I was an innocent bystander they offered to help me by getting adopted. I was late. Adopted by Edgar and Claire Vermillion. During that time I had to relearn how to read and write and do the most basic things like how to hold a fork. I was 15 at the time and I was very shy about the people that wanted to adopt me. But when I met them for the first time they radiated so much warmth and affection I could not help but feel safe around them. Eventually I went to school and I graduated. I went to the military academy where I met my best friends Makoto and Tsubaki. I said as I stared off into the campfire thinking about the past. Naruto nodded as he too looked at the fire. You know, I'm an orphan as well, but I just recently found out who my parents were and they left a message telling me that they were very proud of me. My father truly wanted me to be seen as a hero, but the idiotic villagers in their blind hate only see me as the demon reborn. Before I graduated from the academy the teachers sabotaged my education. The store owners would literally chase me out of their shops with a few exceptions, and even then they would charge me 2 to 3 times the normal amount in order to buy even the necessities. I sighed deeply at the memories that continued to flow into my head, ignoring the tears that were streaming down Noel's face. If that wasn't bad enough, the civilians would organize a fox hunt every other month on top of the weekly mob attacks. I tried to commit suicide at least 5 times, but the fox healed me each and every time. When I thought I couldn't sink any lower, the third Hokage kinda snapped me out of it by telling me stories of his Geni days and the will of fire that symbolizes the spirit of Konoha, and I promised him that I would become the next Hokage to keep the will of fire alive. I finished as the memory of that day drifted in. To my mind, I struggle not to break down and cry. I force myself to continue. When the third died, it felt like there was a large gaping hole inside me that could never be filled. But I realized that he friends I made during that time helped fill in those gaps. When me and the pervert went searching for Tsunade, I grew to see him as an uncle that I never had. Tsunade became a surrogate grandmother. And her assistant Shizune became like an older sister to me. Eventually the pain faded and I loved them like the family I never had. I finished. For a few moments there was silence, but Noel hugs me and the tears started to stream down my face as Noel's tears, as for the first time since the third's funeral I started to cry. Hinata's paw. As I listened to Naruto, my heart wrenched at the things he went through. I should have been there for him sooner, I thought as I realized how badly Naruto suffered throughout his life. I resolved to be there for Naruto despite what the Hyuga Council says. I will stay by Naruto's side and help him from now on and become more confident in myself, I vowed as I let sleep overtake me. Noel's paw. The next morning we head out and we finish making our way towards Suna, and I was grateful for the shelter from the sandstorm. After arriving, Hinata set to heal Kankuro, who was injured while battling Sasori but managed to avoid being fatally poisoned. When Elder Chio volunteered to accompany us in order to fight against Sasori, since he was a former ninja, I reasoned that she would know how he works, would be a great asset as we make our way towards the Akatsuki hideout. I remember their profiles in the bingo book as S-rank level, which means that they are a considerable threat. Noel, look. Naruto said as in a clearing was two men wearing a black robe with red cloud and a street raw hat with paper strips dangling obscuring his face until one of them removes his hat to reveal a man in his late 20s with raven black hair and red eyes. The other was easily over 7 feet tall. Carrying a large sword strapped to his back bandaged up, he too removes his hat to reveal having blue skin with gills and dark blue hair, grinning evilly, revealing sharp pointed teeth. Itachi and Kisame. Kakashi growled as he shifted into a ready stance and pulls out a kunai in a ready position. Kakashi. The black-haired man I identified as Itachi noted as his partner pulls out his sword. I summoned Balverk and pointed the weapons at Kisame. It seems that we have a standoff of sorts. Hey Itachi, can I shave this pretty girl? My sword's been feeling hungry lately. Kisame asks as he slings his sword over his head. Itachi sighs. Do what you want, but do not take too long, we have to report to the leader soon. Itachi says as he opens his robe slightly. Kisame grins, showing more teeth. Don't worry, I won't take too much off you, he said as he rushes towards me. Omake. Alternate encounter. Itachi looks at Kakashi as he puts away a familiar book. Where did you get that? Itachi asks as Kakashi pulls out his kunai. Well, Naruto now owns 1/3 of the Uchiha district. This also includes your house and all of its possessions. He decided to sell everything in the house. This also included your personal items. Itachi became red with anger, something that has never happened in the entire history anyone has known him to be. You mean to tell me he sold you my limited edition uncensored ICHA series? Itachi screams as in a fit of rage rushes at Naruto. Forget capturing you to extract the Kyuubi. I will kill you right here. Itachi screams as he pulls his sword out and wildly swings at Naruto in an attempt to kill him. End Omake. To be continued. Me. Next time. Noel vs. Kisame. Okay, like I mentioned at the beginning of this chapter, this will cover Valkenhayn R. Helsing and Platinum, the Trinity, since it is October. Valkenhayn R. Helsing. Character voice. Motomu Kiyakawa, J.P., Doug Stone, E.N.G. One of the 6 heroes and Rachel's elderly butler and trusted advisor who has served the Alucard family line for generations. He possesses sharp wit and is concerned for Rachel's well-being. Valkenhayn seems to be worried about Rachel associating with things below her class, particularly Ragna. Although others might apply, but he always acts in a sophisticated and gentlemanly manner. Judging from comments frequently dropped by Rachel, he seems to have once been a vigilante himself. He seems to know Terumi well enough to recognize him on sight, even though Terumi can change shape. Valkenhayn's drive. Werewolf, allows him to transform into his wolf form to increase its mobility. Platinum the Trinity. Character voice. Aoi Yuki, JP, Laura Bailey, ENG. A young girl with 3 personalities named Luna, Senna, and Trinity. Luna is a rude young girl, Senna is a polite young boy. And Trinity is the spirit of the 6th hero. Trinity's personality is locked within her Nox Nictors, and she is only able to come to the surface for brief periods of time. This Nox Nictor's full name is Arma Rebor Muchorin, a bell which has the power to incarnate matter. She is seen watching over Ragna, who is with Jubei all the time. Being a cat, Trinity is very fond of Jubei, however she harbors a deep hate towards Ragna. Most likely due to his connection to the Black Beast. She also appeared before Bang Shishigami, telling him about the Nox Nictors that he possesses. Her confirmation, as a downloadable character, is announced in September 9th and will be fully revealed during Tokyo Game Show 2010. She is confirmed to be released in October. Platinum's Drive, Magical Symphony, allows her to materialize and change the appearance of her heart staff using her Nox Nictors to fully suit her battle style. As always, Hoodie Who, Shark Attack, Breaking Fate's Curse Rebel 9, Shark Attack. Written by Jailargant. Me. I know the title sucks, but I really couldn't think of a better one. Please keep the reviews coming. I appreciate your support in this FIC. By the way, I fixed the names of Noel's parents. At the time I did not know their true names, but after looking at Noel's profile on the BlazBlue wiki I fixed that mistake. As always, typical disclaimers apply. I do not own BlazBlue or Naruto in any shape or form. I have one last thing before starting. Spoon. Noel's POV. Play Imperial Code. Noel vs. Jin's theme now. Well, Brad, it seems that you have a death wish. A shame a pretty young girl like yourself is going to be all shredded to pieces. Oh well, it can't be helped. The large shark man spoke as he hefts his oversized sword and steadies it into the ready position. I look at my opponent. He seems to be the type to overwhelm his adversary with sheer force and enjoy taking his time picking them apart like a shark. I muse to myself as I try to calm myself against the large man. I shift myself to recite the oath of the Noel to gather the courage needed to fight him, dispatched in mankind's darkest hour. I am a knight of the blue flame, I said as I glared at the man before me and rush in, firing both guns in a rapid pace as he slings his sword around like it was an oversized stick. If Ragna was here, he would kick this guy's sorry ass in seconds. I mused to myself as he lams his blade into the ground trying to hit me. I take advantage and literally run up the sword and aimed both barrels or bulwark in his face. Now surrender or else, I said, pressing both barrels. I NTO'd his head to ensure immediate response. And to my surprise his cheeks were inflating. What the? Then I realized what was happening. Oh shit, I thought as I leapt away from him as he unleashed a torrent of water with the force of a fire hose from his mouth. I barely dodge it as he finally stops. He starts moving his hands in signs until he stops and the water started to take shape. Water style. Water dragon jutsu. He roars as the water forms into a dragon and rushes at me. I manage to leap over the dragon as it hits a tree with enough force to shatter it and the next tree behind it. I jump out of the way to avoid a punch that would have broken my ribs had it connected. I rush in and kick the back of his leg at the knee joint, making him drop on one knee, and followed up with slamming my GUN into his face, sending him reeling back with blood and a few teeth flying. Unleashing Arnagus, I declared as I performed my signature move, Valkyrie Veil AN. Noel's astral finish move. When I CK my guns together to hear the satisfying sound of defeat. Among the explosion I feel the rush of adrenaline leave me as the sounds of his body hits the ground. End song. At this moment, I turned to Ace, the man I had fought, and to my surprise that he was different. Instead of looking like a 7-foot-tall blue-skinned, pointy-teethed, blue-haired man with gills to an average-looking man with the symbol of Suna on his forehead. What's going on? Is this a genjutsu? I thought to myself as I tried dispelling it, but it would not break, which means one of two things. 1. The genjutsu is stronger than I thought. Or 2. It is not a genjutsu. What's going on? I thought it was a genjutsu, but, I said as Kakashi and Lady Chio examined the bodies and found that they were indeed our adversaries, but that added on to the questions. Could it be a type of jutsu that the Akatsuki developed? Hinata questioned as I nudged the now dead man with my foot as Kakashi coughs loudly, getting our attention. Oh, It's obvious that this was a setup by Akatsuki so they could gauge our abilities and individual skill sets. From now on we'll have to be on guard more than ever. Kakashi spoke as he turned his HEAD towards the Akatsuki imposter that the others fought. We salvaged their items for any useful tools and continued on towards where Gaara was being held. Team Guy arrived before we so they volunteered to unseal the cave entrance while Naruto uses his Rasengan to shatter the boulder to enter inside. Inside was a body on the ground and two people who I immediately recognized as Akatsuki members. Gaara, Naruto shouted, indicating the red-haired boy was Gaara the fifth Kazekage and Naruto's friend lying there dead. The blonde-haired Akatsuki member tossed something out of his hand and a cloud of smoke appeared. When it dissipates, a large bird stands there and grabs Gaara and swallows him. The blonde who I learned his name Deidara taunts Naruto into following him while Kakashi follows, leaving me, Hinata, and Lady Chiyo to face her grandson, Sasori the Red Sand. To be continued. Me. Happy Halloween to all my viewers out there. Mwahahahaha. Next time. 3 against 101. This chapter profile will cover the living hive himself, Erican. Character voice. Takashi Hakita, JP, Spike Spencer, ENG. A black blob-like creature with a white mask who formerly worked alongside Tiger and Lychee in Sector 7. After an attempt to study the boundary, he became what he is today, now housing innumerable insects with his now blobby body and thriving on knowledge. His horrible condition has rendered him virtually insane and lacking any reliable memory, as well as distorting his speech to near incoherency. Most of his dialogue consists of gibberish, insane laughter and tortured screaming. His dialogue between many characters, as well as his arcade mode ending, suggest that it was the power and knowledge he obtained from the boundary that gradually turned him into what he is, and notab. Lee, according to his arcade mode ending, he doesn't seem to have noticed that he's changed, and to him, his bizarre speech is completely normal. He seems to not understand why others can't understand him, creating a crude mask for himself thinking it would allow others to understand what he's saying. He currently lives in the sewers of Kagutsuchi where the Seether concentration is highest and will attack anyone who visits there. He has also been known to attack and devour his victims to sustain himself, specifically targeting the Kaka clan, the closest living creatures. He thirsts for power and knowledge above all else and considers the Azure the pinnacle of such. Anytime he meets Ragna he becomes obsessive in his desire to consume the Azure. In his arcade story in Continuum Shift, Erican D. Ice plays the ability to speak coherently when he fights against Lychee, warning her of the dangers of her power, and that if she keeps it up she could become like him. Later, in his fight against Hazama, he taunts him, saying that he was an even bigger failure than the Black Beast. However, by Continuum Shift's true end, he is captured by Relius Clover and used as a bargaining tool to make Lychee join the Noel. Erican's real name is Lot Carmen. Erican's drive, Crimson, curses the opponent and summons a swarm of bugs to attack them. As always, Hoodie Who, cutting the puppet's strings, breaking Fate's curse. Rebel 10, cutting the puppet's strings. Written by Jailargant. Me. Okay, here we go with Chapter 10 and I have a surprise in store for my fans. Typical disclaimers apply. I do not own BlazBlue or Naruto in any shape or form. Noel's POV. As we stand in front of the monstrosity that is supposed to be of that of Sasori, the former ninja from Suna, in his true form, as it were. I was lucky enough to avoid the poisonous tail and the multiple arms of Hirako, with Hinata providing support in finding the weak spots that was riddled in the large puppet, allowing me to weaken it to the point where Lady Chiyo and I took advantage and shattered the shell, rendering it useless. His dark pink hair and charming smile reminds me of a slightly more masculine version of Sakura. You know I'm right about that. He pulls out a scroll and unsealed it to reveal the third Kazekage that he openly admitted to murdering in order to turn him into a puppet. Play Love So Blue. Noel's vocal theme right now. Quote, "Now you shall feel the power of my jutsu." He spoke in a dramatic tone as the puppet rushes me. If this guy is like Carl, then the weakness is obvious, I realized. I rush in towards Sasori intending to fire a blast point blank at his head, only for a black mist to head towards me coming from the Kazecage's mouth. Poison mist, I thought as I maneuver my way out of the way back to Hinata and Lady Chiyo. The black mist suddenly started to form into small pellets. Watch out, Noel. That's not mist. That's iron sand. The third cage had the ability to manipulate iron sand and use it as a weapon. Chiyo whispered as she pulls out 2 scrolls of her own and unseal them to reveal 2 puppets, one male and one female. The male looked like an older version of Sasori and the female looked similar to Nirvana but with irises and long black hair. My first puppets, the mother and father. Sasori mused as Lady Chiyo positioned the puppets in front of her. True, they are the very first puppets that you had created. To be honest, I thought I had hopes for you as one of the greatest puppet masters that Suna has ever produced. But to my shame you started to create human puppets out of your fallen victims. Lady Chiyo shouted as the revelation of what he has done makes me gasp in shock and horror. As a lieutenant of the Noel, we occasionally have to deal with terrorists conducting experiments on humans, Sasori. I will never forgive you for your sins. Enough talking, now die. With those words the puppet that was the cage rushes at us with iron pellets heading towards Hinata and Lady Chiyo. Hinata starts moving her hands in sharp precise movements faster and faster until her arms and hands are a blur of movement, Hyuga style. Guardian 8 divination signs, 64 palms of the hand, and web dome of energy surrounds both Hinata and Lady Chiyo. The pellets hits the dome dissolving into the iron sand that it was. After a few moments the pellets stopped trying to pierce the bar wire and there was purple steam coming from the iron sand that was on the ground. The iron sand must be soaked in poison. That means I have to take out the cage in order to get near Sasori, I reasoned. As I looked at Hinata and Lady Chiyo and nod as the 5 of us 3 people and 2 puppets remember. Rush at the corpse puppet of the third cage. Lady Chiyo moves her arms and the father pulls out a serrated katana and the mother arm separates to reveal a buzzsaw-like weapon extending out. The third cage arm separates to show a storage seal. It activates to show hundreds of arms heading to the mother and father. The mother and father clasp their hands and pull apart to show ninja wire. Then they wrap the wire around the summoned arms and apply enough pressure to cut the arms to useless pieces. While this was happening, Hinata moves behind the cage and notice her hands were glowing, indicating that she was using the charka scalpel technique. I could vaguely see the strands of charka connecting to the cage. And in one smooth motion Hinata slices the strings, rendering him immobile. Now take him out before it's too late. Hinata yells at me. I run and jump on the Mo. There's shoulders and leap off of her and aim bulwark at the cage. Unleashing Armagus. Zero gun. Thor. I scream as I unleash the full power of bulwark, striking the puppet, and instead of firing 1 missile I fire 3, eradicating him. End song. At this point, Sasori looks on in shock as his favorite puppet was destroyed in front of his eyes. He narrows his eyes and removes his Akatsuki cloak to reveal that his body is in fact a puppet. He turned himself into a puppet. But why? I thought, as the wing blades extend out and Lady Chiyo pulls out another scroll and unsealed it to reveal 10 puppets. Puppet art. White secret technique. Lady Chiyo spoke as the 10 puppets surround her in a defensive formation. Sasori quirked an eyebrow at the sight. Interesting, the famed Jiki Chikamatsu no Shu. In the hands of a skilled puppet user can take down a garrison and all of its inhabitants. However, Sasori pulls out a scroll of his own and unseals it. When the smoke faded in the air was at least 100 puppets. My red secret technique has conquered a small country. I whimpered at the sheer number of enemies in front of us. There's way too many for us to fight and we can't retreat. I realize as Sasori laughs at the situation. Suddenly the air was filled with electricity as a black portal appears between the battlefield and a figure drops from the portal. The figure was wearing the cloak of the Noel Intelligence Department, but to my surprise I see a familiar squirrel tail. Makoto, I said as the figure turns to face me, and to my surprise and joy it is her. Noelle, she squeals as she hugs me. I forget about the battle for the moment and return the hug. Ahem, if you don't mind, I have some puppets to make. Sasori's voice catches out attention as I remember the current situation. Makoto looks at the large number of puppets in awe. This is so cool. Can you make them dance? She said in a somewhat childish tone. Makoto, you kinda arrived at a bad time. UCT's guy wants to kill us and then turn us into puppets under his control. I explain as Makoto's expression went from childlike innocence to deadly serious in a split second and the fur on her tail started to stand on end. Nobody threatens my friends, especially not some 2-bit puppeteer with a fetish for wood, she said as she shifted into a fighting stance. I gotta warn you, I don't know how to pull my punches. she said as Hinata handed me a solider pill. I swallow it and immediately started to feel the effects as I shift into a ready position. Dispatched in mankind's darkest hour. We are knights of the blue flame. We recited as all 6 of us rushed to the puppets. To be continued. Me. I know I'm using a cliffhanger and I promise Makoto will be fighting in the next chapter. Next time. Makoto strikes. This chapter will cover the hyperactive ADHD squirrel girl herself, Makoto Nanaya. Makoto Nanaya. Character voice. Tomomi Isomura, JP, Cindy Robinson, ENG. Another classmate of Noel's and Jin's from the military academy. Much like Tsubaki, she is a squirrel-type half-beast man, and is considerably hyperactive with a short attention span. She is outgoing, adventurous, and has inhuman reflexes. She has a few complexes about her race but nonetheless proudly acknowledges who she is. She seems to be working under the NOL's intelligence division, but is actually an informant for Sector 7. However, by the end of CS True End, she transfers to Sector 7 in order to protect Noel. In battle, she fights using her specially made cross tonfas. She appears in the console version of Continuum Shift as downloadable content. Makoto's drive, Impact, unleashes an attack that varies based on the timing of holding and releasing the D button. As always, Hoodie Who, One Squirrel Army, Breaking Fate's Curse, Rebel 11, One Squirrel Army, written by Jailargant, me. Here we are with Chapter 11 and Holy Mother of Makoto. 5,200 hits, 26 faves and 15 alerts on this story. Wow. Wow, I had no idea this story would skyrocket like this, and I appreciate the feedback all of you are giving me. Please keep it up. On one other note, I decided to delete my Lamenting Marionette FIC not because I haven't gotten any reviews for it, but because I had essentially have written myself into a corner. I'm sorry if fans of this story are disappointed, but I was stretching myself rather thin juggling 3 stories. Now on to the disclaimers. I do not own Naruto or BlazBlue in any shape or form. That means I have immunity if ASW or Kishimoto finds out about this FIC and tries to sue me. Hinata's POV. I what? CH's our new companion takes off the cloak and beret and toss it away to reveal a athletically toned body. I could barely hold back a blush as her D-cup breasts were threatening to rip out of the conference. Ines of her top and her ultra miniskirt showing the thong underwear that she's wearing, and to my surprise a squirrel tail was sticking out at the base of her back with matching ears. On her arms is WH. At appears to be cross-shaped tonfas, obviously meant for making heavy impacts on the opponent's body. Her shapely legs were encased in thigh-high stockings, and finishing out her orange clothing was a pair of orange combat boots. Play Alexandrite. Makoto's theme right now. With a battle cry she proceeds to rush towards a small group of puppets and slams a fist into one of them, sending it crashing into the ground, shattering it. She then followed up with a rising uppercut, slamming her fist into another puppet, sending her and the puppet into the air, and as they descend she slams her fist into puppet's head again, sending it into the ground, shattering its head. Come on, try harder. Makoto taunts as the next group heads towards her. She shifts herself into a salute. My soul burns with the heat of 1,000 suns. She cocks her arm back as a large circle of energy was gathering. Big, bang, smash. She cries out as she thrusts her fist R, and a large fist emerged from the energy circle, slamming into the group, reducing them to pieces. I turn my head to Noel, who just finished taking out 6 puppets, and see Lady Chio finishing up with 5 puppets. Your friend looks very powerful, Lady Chio commented as Makoto dispatched yet another puppet. Noel smiled and her eyes look on in thoughtfulness. Yes, she is. Makoto has always been the athletic type of person despite what people said about her. Makoto is what we call a beastkin, but in all honesty I hate the name, it sounds too derogatory. It's really hard to believe that when I first met her she was being picked on by some upperclassmen. I stood up to them and left when I said I was in the student council. Of course at the time I was lying to protect her. When they ran, Makoto was cradled on the ground clutching her tail protectively. They threatened to cut her tail and ears off to make her normal looking. It turns out that they lost relatives during the war and they blamed Beastkin for their deaths. After contacting Hinol, the bullies were expelled and arrested for attempted assault, and ever since then she's became my best friend. After we graduated I heard that she was sent to the intelligence department and I haven't heard from her since. Not until today, that is. she explained as Makoto leaps into the air and for a moment hovers. I look at Makoto and realize that she's using her tail as a propeller keeping her aloft in the air, then all of a sudden she shoots downward and hits one puppet in the head, shattering it, and punches the one behind it twice in the waist, forcing it to bend over, then finishes it up with an devastating uppercut, shattering it. Yawn, now I'm hungry. Makoto spoke as Sasori looks on, trying to take down the apparently one squirrel army and failing miserably. He looked visibly angered as yet another puppet is shattered, never to be used again. You little brat. I will enjoy draining your blood as the lifeless corpses of your friends watch on. Sasori growled as the blades of his wings extended out started to spin slowly at first, then picking up speed until it moves so fast it's a blur. The cable from his torso shoots out and nearly impales Makoto's. Quick reflexes allows he to dodge the poisonous cable and run along it as Sasori starts retracting it, sending him flying towards Makoto as she produces a ball of electricity and hits it hard, sending it at him with the force of a cannonball, slamming into his chest, forcing him back as Makoto rushes in. Light, give me strength, she screams out as she cocks her left arm back and it was glowing a bright blue. When Sasori got close enough, she threw her punch, striking him in the chest with a resounding crash, making him stagger. Makoto then proceeds to let loose with a volley of punches, each one hitting home. Planet Crusher, Makoto shouted as she finished up with a devastatingly powerful uppercut that sends him into the air, shattering his puppet body, and only his heart remained as the sound of a bell ringing and confetti rained down. I immediately tried to cancel the genjutsu, but to my horror it wouldn't. At least it's not as bad as Guy-sensei's infamous sunset jutsu, I reasoned as she struck a pose. Just another unworthy foe, she growled as the confetti jutsu faded away. End song. At this point, I must be slipping. Normally that would have sent him to the moon. Literally, she said as I tried to comprehend the sheer power this girl my age has if she can casually talk about sending opponents to the moon as though it's a daily occurrence. All of a sudden the pieces that made up Sasori's body started to float and reassemble themselves until Sasori was back. Sasori turns his head towards Makoto with a grin on his face. Was that it? I expected that to be more dramatic. In any event, you cannot kill me, for I am immortal. No matter how many times you break me, I will be coming back until you are dead at my feet. Sasori smiled evilly as all of a sudden there was a bang and the sound of shattering wood. We turn our heads to the source and see Noel with her bulwark pointed at him, smoking. Makoto, I'll take it from here, she said as she shifted into a ready position. Sasori narrows his eyes in contempt. Fool. You should not have come here today, he said as his blades started to rotate and he launches his cable, grazing Noel's cheek. Noel rushes at Sasori as well and engaged him in taijutsu, with her being the better fighter. I noticed that Lady Chiyo was moving the father and mother into position. Now Noel, Lady Chiyo shouted as the father and mother struck, piercing his heart with discarded swords that they picked up from the battlefield. Sasori looked on in shock as the twin blades of cold steel were sticking out of his heart. Congratulations, it seems that I had underestimated your skills. As you know, the Akatsuki want Orochimaru dead for his betrayal. I have a spy in the Sound Village that I am to meet 1 week from now at the Tenchu Bridge in Grass County. Sasori spoke, as the blood was dripping from the swords with each word, which there was no answer nor will there ever will be. Omake. Copyright infringement jutsu. As Makoto leaps into the air, she hover in the air. Looking closely, I notice her tail was spinning like a propeller. Copyright infringement. Hinata yells, catching Makoto off guard and making her crash into the ground. Makoto painfully get up from the ground. What was that? She asks. You heard me, you copied Tails from Sonic the Hedgehog. Hinata huffs. Hey, unlike the fox boy, I use only one tail. He uses two, so that doesn't count. Makoto countered as Hinata opens her mouth to counter only to close it, failing to produce a counter. Omake too. Sasori is Marluxia. The huddled figure of Sasori leaps out of Hirako covered in the oversized Akatsuki robes, started to chuckle. Interesting. How long has it been since my identity was revealed? With those words, Sasori tosses the oversized cloak off himself to reveal a effeminate male with older length pink hair, and his piercing green eyes sweep over us, and instead of wearing the standard Akatsuki cloak, he was wearing a zip-up black robe with a hood. You're in the wrong series, Marluxia. What are you doing here? Noel growled as she prepares her bulwark. Marluxia merely shrugs his shoulders. Sasori had some personal issues to deal with, so he asked me to fill in for him. He simply replied as we crashed to the floor. End omakase. Me. I have a new poll up, please vote for your favorite pairing. Next time. An explosive reunion. This chapter will cover the emo ice king himself, Jin Kasaragi. Jin Kasaragi. Character voice. Tetsuya Kakahara, JP, David Vincent, ENG. Jin Kasaragi is a major in the Noel, and one of its elite commanding officers. He is always cool and calm, but is also jealous, ambitious, and possessive. With little care for others, treating them like they are mere obstacles. He displayed formidable actions to gain his rank during the Ikaruga Civil War. When he heard that Ragna the Blood Edge had arrived on the scene, he quickly abandoned his post to hunt him down by himself. The truth, however, is that Ragna is Jin's biological brother, and Jin's early feelings of rivalry were furthered by his visions of the future and his Nox Nictor's amplification of his emotions. Terumi caused Jin's mind to hack off Ragna's arm, later nearly dying without the intervention of Rachel, and supposedly kill Saya. And Jin often says that he's looking forward to killing Ragna again. After the incident, he was adopted into the Kasaragi house, a highly powerful and respected family within the Noel. He possesses a notable psychosis, said to be caused by his sword, the Nox Nictors, Mucro Algesco, Yukianessa. While the sword grants him manipulation over ice, it also enhances primal feelings and is often blamed for insanity. His future alter ego is the White Knight of the Six Heroes named Hakumen. In Continuum Shift's true ending, Jin revealed to Ragna that Saya had given him Yukianessa. He's currently traveling with Jubei. Jin's drive is Frostbite, which freezes the opponent solid. As always, Hoodie Who. Explosive Reunions. Breaking Fate's Curse. Rebel 12. Explosive Reunions. Written by Jailargant. Me. Okay folks, by the time this chapter comes out it would be close to Christmas, so consider this an early Christmas gift to my fans out there. Typical disclaimers apply. I do not own Naruto or BlazBlue in any shape or form. Naruto's POV. Play Suck a Sage. Chip Zanuff's vocal theme at this point. I stare as Kakashi-sensei uses his Sharingan but misses completely. T manages to hit the wing of the bird that Deidara, forcing him to crash into the ground, but leaps off into a tree and land perfectly onto a branch, hiding himself from us. We'll stand for the fights. They'll live by their knives, we'll fight for our rights. You will command your life. Now how to handle this, Deidara mocked from his position in the trees. I growled at his mocking tone and throw a few kunais at what I thought was the source of his voice, only to hear the sounds of leaves rustling and Deidara laughing at my attempts to locate him. You'll take in the night. We know what is right, SL. Even you will dream that you hear their screams. My turn. Deidara shouted as several clay birds flew towards me from different directions in an attempt to confuse me. I leap over two birds and the Y slam into the ground, creating a small bang and a 1-foot crater from their impact. The time is now, so can't you see? Just rock the block, never waiting for time is now, so can't you see? Gangs will hang down in the gallows. I continue dodging and occasionally throwing a shuriken or kunai to destroy a clay bird, exploding it safely away from us. Kakashi-sensei follows suit by trying to find our target. Dare the world to wield a sword. It's for our rights and honor. Dispel the lame from the turf, it's our colors. Dare the world to catch a thief. It's for your right and honor. Dispel the hell from our streets that we harbor. Kakashi-sensei went through several hand signs before shouting, ninja art, spark bolts. And all at once several arcs of lightning shoots out of his fingers, hitting the remaining clay birds, destroying them completely. After a few moments he cancels the jutsu and collapses on his knees in exhaustion. We'll stand for the fights, they'll live by their knives, we'll fight for our rights. You will command your life. Kakashi-sensei. I run over to him and help him up. He staggers for a moment before regaining his composure. Deidara leaps out from a branch and through a few shurikens at us, only to be destroyed by a familiar gunshot. The three of us turn our heads to the source to see Noel, Hinata, Granny Chio, and a girl around Noel's age but was wearing a black cloak and batch. Hingbare. I had to perform the canceling technique because the girl had a squirrel tail, and to my surprise the tail is real. The time is now, so can't you see? Rocking the block, never waiting for time is now. So you must believe gangs will hang down in the gallows. A few seconds later Team Guy appeared behind us, effectively surrounding him in all directions. Lee rushes in, followed by Neji, and they Obel Team Deidara, but he merely dodges their attacks and deliver a powerful kick to Lee's face and a punch to Neji's sternum, knocking the breath out of him. He leans back, dodging a kunai thrown by Tenten. Dare the world to brand a sword. It's for your right and honor. Dispel the lame from the turf, it's our colors. Dare the world to catch a thief. It's for your right and honor. Dispel the hell from our streets that we harbor. The mysterious girl tosses her cloak aside and rushes towards Deidara. I had to wipe the blood from my nose and restrain myself from flying back due to the sheer perverted thoughts that were running through my mind about the squirrel girl. After dodging Tenten's kunai, the girl grabs Deidara's cloak. The time is now, so can't you see? Rocking the block, never waiting for time is now. So you must believe gangs will hang down in the gallows. It's squeaky time, she calls out as she lifts him into the air, and in a surprising move her tail strikes him with an large amount of force multiple times and then follows it up with her backhanding him in the face with her cross-shaped tonfa and the edge cutting his face. He stands up with a murderous look in his eye. Dare the world to brand a sword. It's for your right and honor. Dispel the lame from the turf, it's our colors. Dare the world to catch a thief. It's for your right and honor. Dispel the hell from our streets that we harbor. Deidara hesitantly puts his hand on the cut and felt the blood, and as he wipes the blood away his charka spikes to an even higher level and levels his eye on the girl that cut his cheek. I will make sure to produce my greatest artwork by reducing you to ash and scattering you across the four corners of the earth. He screams at her as the girl smirks in a mockingly manner as his Oof's hands were forming more explosive clay. I'm really not digging this, she mutters to herself as she rushes in and punches Deidara in the stomach, making him double over. She then winds her left arm and deliver a uppercut directly onto his jaw. Her right fist sends another uppercut to the same spot, launching him into the air, and the girl jumps high into the air and rears her fist back in. A circle of power was forming behind her. This hand of mine glows with the power of awesomeness. Its loud cry tells me to beat the crap out of you. Take this, my love, my anger, and the power of a million squirrels. Particle flare. She screams as she brings her fist down, and the energy behind her forms into a giant fist and slams into Deidara, sending him into the ground, creating a decent-sized crater. Dare the world to wield a knife. It's for your right and honor. Dispel the lame from the turf, it's our colors. Dare the world to catch a thief. It's for your right and honor. Dispel the hell from our streets that we harbor. The girl raises her arm in the air in a show of victory. Knockdown, she exclaims as Guy and Lee were weeping in what they believe was a show of youthfulness behind her and engaging in the infamous sunset jutsu, and oddly enough it was not that all creepy. End song. I walk over to the crater to see Deidara's upper body firmly planted into the ground with his legs sti. See king up like a bizarre flower. I snorted at the joke. Now that's art, I thought evilly as suddenly the ground below Deidara exploded. I leap away to avoid the blast when the dust cleared. Deidara was standing there with his cloak torn and an insane look in his eyes. He leaps to the fallen bird that held Gaara and rips a piece of clay off it and eats it. Ha 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 ha. Behold my greatest work of art, he exclaims as he started expanding. We stare as he continues to inflate until all of a sudden he looked as though he was caught in a drain and was imploding upon himself until he vanished into nothingness. Kakashi-sensei falls to one knee as we breathe a collective sigh of relief as my clones carry Gaara towards us. We watch as Granny Chio used a medical jutsu, but she started to look strained. And I offered to assist, to which she was grateful for my help. I wait in anticipation for the person I consider a brother to awaken, and to my amazement Gaara gasps and sits up and Granny Chio collapses exhausted. 2 hours later, we walk towards Suna after paying our respects to Granny Chio, and Noel introduces us to her best friend in her academy days, Makoto, which she glomps me and Kakashi sends. I flew back from the largest nosebleed I had ever witnessed, and Makoto rubbed her cheek against my whisker marks in the right way, and I pass out from sheer pleasure. Omake. Other uses for having mouths on hands. You shall feel the full force of my art. Yeah. Deidara smirked as he opens his palms, revealing a mouth on each one. Makoto's face scrunched itself in disgust and looked as though she would throw up. EWWWW. Disgusting. What do you use them for? She asks as her face starts to turn green. I'll have you know that I use these mouths to manipulate clay and from it into shapes needed for my art. HMPH. Deidara scoffed. Yeah, and you can also give yourself a blowjob whenever you get lonely. And I doubt you even wash them with soap. Makoto fired back. Deidara's face contorted in rage. I am not gay, dammit. He shouted to the heavens, scaring the nearby birds. End omake. Me. Okay, that takes care of chapter 12. Next time. Returning to Konoha, this chapter will cover another one of the 6 legendary heroes. The White Knight himself, Hakumen. Hakumen. Character voice. Tetsuya Kakahara, JP, David Vincent, ENG. One of the 6 heroes, Hakumen is a samurai-like cyborg wielding a sword as tall as he is and wearing a mask that completely hides his face. He led mankind to defeat the Black Beast, then when attempting to warn the people that they needed to repent for their sins, lest the Black Beast return, they trapped him in a space known as the Edge, where he drifted for nearly 100 years until Kokono discovered him. Kokono helped him return to the world, hoping to use him to defeat Terumi. But he set out to achieve his own agendas before being completely salvaged from the Edge. During his journey, he has also shown tremendous respect towards Bang and his unyielding spirit. Something truly out of character for Hakumen. Hakumen often says that his sword will purify the world of sin and vanquish that which is evil. In truth, Hakumen is a djinn from the future, whose soul was bound to the Susanoo unit after falling into the gates of Sheol and saved by Rachel. He now possesses the ability to generate seemingly indefinite amounts of energy at will, and his sword, the Nox Nictors, Interfectum Malice, Ukami, is apparently capable of killing characters that otherwise could not be killed or would simply regenerate, i.e. Ragna, Nu-13, and Erikan. In Continuum Shift, he was taken and imprisoned by Kokono, but eventually freed by Rachel, agreeing to help her find Terumi. Although his name is spelled Haku equals men, in most official media, most characters in the game, including Hakumen himself, simply refer to him as Hakumen. Zanshin, Hakumen's drive, counters attacks directed at him. As always, Hoodie Who, Home Again, Breaking Fate's Curse Rebel 13, Home Again, written by Jailargant. Me. Merry Christmas, people. I hope that you enjoyed the holidays as much as I did. As you have guessed by now, Platinum the Trinity release date has been changed to spring of 2011. So there's some good news on that. Now I do not own BlazBlue or Naruto in any shape or form. Oh, by the way, I started up my own BlazBlue forum if you want to talk about the game or this FIC. Noel's POV. The next day we were halfway towards Konoha and Guy suggested making camp. Seeing as it was starting to get dark as we start pulling out the camping gear, I noticed that Makoto was watching sheepishly at the fact that she obviously forgot camping gear. I call out to her and walk up to her. Hey Makoto, want to share my tent? I ask her hesitantly as she squeals in happiness and glomps me and rubs her cheek against mine. Sure, I would love to share a tent. It'll be like that camping trip that we went on back in the academy. Hopefully, it'll turn out better than last time. Makoto gig. Glad as the memory of that time filled my head. It was close to summer vacation, so we decided to hold a camping trip since it was Makoto's idea. Sadly, it turned out to be a bit of a disappointment. Ce Jin and Tsubaki had to leave early since the two of them had the misfortune of trying to be intimate in a patch of poison ivy leaves, and Carl ran across a skunk while searching for firewood and was sprayed. Later, as we sit around the campfire, Makoto was telling stories about our days in the academy and was laughing at some of Makoto's more infamous pranks on the more deserving students. For example, she snuck into the girls' locker room and glued squirrel tails and ears on their uniforms in retaliation for a crude caricature of her in the bathrooms. Another one had replaced the stuffing of pillows and filling them with acorns due to them snubbing her. Naruto then tells of the pranks that he had pulled off when he was younger, like pouring a full bottle of bleach in the Uchiha police uniform's washing machines and lacing them with itching powder when he was 8. Another time he made it where the Hyuga's everyday robes were tie-dyed and locked away their formal robes, sparing Hinata's clothes since she was nice to him. By the way, Makoto, how did you get here in the first place? I ask her as everyone decided to go to bed early since they wanted an early start to return to Konoha in the morning. Well, I was transferred to Sector 7 and assigned to the lead scientist there, Kokono, and she built a dimensional teleportation device while she was building it, though she kept muttering. Something about one-upping a certain blonde blood-sucking rabbit. When you disappeared, Kokono sent me to find you since she suspects that the boundary didn't consume you. She thinks that somehow the azure prevented you from dying. And you know the rest. She explained as I hand her a cup of hot chocolate. We spent the next couple of hours talking about the good times that we had back in the arcade. Before waking Naruto and Hinata up to take over on our shift. We managed to make it back to Konoha in the early afternoon. We were a mile outside the gates when a thought crosses my mind. Wait, what if the villagers attack Makoto because of her appearance? I stop the group and voice my concerns about Makoto. Kakashi strokes his chin in contemplation. Well, I suppose we could disguise her before we enter the village. Maybe we can hang. He was stopped by Makoto's voice speaking harshly towards him. No, I am not going in under a henge. I refuse to hide myself because they're afraid of someone who is different from them. I went through that while I was in the academy and I survived, and I refuse to let them put me down because of my heritage. I am proud of being a beastkin and all of the social benefits that comes along with it. She spoke as a volcano suddenly appears and erupts in a dramatic show of power. Tenten moves her hands in the dispel position and try to cancel the genjutsu, but, to her horror, it is in the same league as Guy and Lee's sunset jutsu. She then starts to curl in the fetal position and starts mumbling to herself about insane squirrels that might be related to Guy. A few moments later, Makoto marches through the busy streets of Konoha, ignoring the stares and whispers of the surrounding people as we make our way towards the Hokage Tower when a screech of a pink H-aired banshee stops us and Sakura was making a beeline towards us in full fury. Naruto! She screams as she rushes towards Naruto. I pull out one of my bulwarks and point it at her and fire a few NDS, making her stop in her track as she looks at the seven of us. She spots Makoto and immediately starts in on her. What's this? Another freak of nature like Naruto. But then again, that's all freaks are good for. Nothing but abominations. Perverting nature and being inferior to actual humans. She kept mocking Makoto, not caring that this particular subject is very sensitive to her. Shut the hell up, Haruno. You have no right to talk to anyone like that, I said dangerously as Sakura turns her attention to me. No, you shut the hell up, you demon whore. You should have been killed alongside the idiot, she said as she raised her fist and was about to attack when something hits Sakura in the head. She bends down and picks up the object that struck her to reveal that it was an acorn. She then turns her attention to the source of the attack to reveal that it was Makoto, enveloped in an aura that screams, "You just royally screwed yourself," as the fur on her tail was sticking up on end. I don't know who the hell you were, but you messed up by not only insulting my heritage but my friends, and that is something I can never forgive, she growled as she shifted into a ready position. Play BUTTER Fly Sky, Makoto's vocal theme at this point. Sakura scoffs and slips on her black gloves. This shouldn't take long, she says as she rushes Makoto and swings at her. Makoto dodges and performs a icing uppercut and slams her fist down, impacting Sakura's face, sending her into the ground, and then shifted her weight to where her tail was going to hit her. Sakura rolls out of the way before Makoto's tail hits the ground and delivers a kick to her midsection, and I winced at the damage that did. That probably cracked a few ribs. Makoto needs to finish this quickly, otherwise Sakura will kill her, I thought to myself as Makoto dodges another Charka-enhanced punch and counters with a kick to Sakura's knee, shattering it. Sakura screams as Makoto follows it up with several rapid punches, striking hard and fast at Sakura's face and following it up with a punch to her stomach, and before Sakura could respond she shifted into a readiness pose for her Big Bang Smash maneuver. For justice, for friendship, and for love, she yells out, as the attack connects, sending her into the air, and Makoto's eyes were filled with unbridled rage as she brings her fist down like an executioner's blade, sending her straight to the ground. End song at this point. Never insult my friends again, Makoto softly speaks as a group of Anbu appears along with Lady Tsunade, looking at the prone form of Sakura with an appraising eye as Makoto was clutching her ribs and breathing hard. What happened here, Noel? The Hokage asks me, and I reply by giving my account of the events that transpired here. Okay, let me see if I got this straight. Your friend Makoto arrived to this world looking for you. Completing that task, she decided to accompany you back to Konoha, and then Sakura insulted her and you Then Makoto reacted by challenging Sakura to a fight and then beats the crap out of her. Is there anything else I should know? She raises an eyebrow expectantly at us. Yes ma'am, we received All information about a possible location to Orochimaru's current whereabouts. There is to be a scheduled meeting between Sasori and his spy in Orochimaru's forces at the Tenshu Bridge 1 week from now. Guy explained after dropping Kakashi off in the hospital due to Charka exhaustion. Lady Tsunade places her arms on her desk and clasps her hands together. There is the possibility of this being a trap created by Sasori to lead you to astray. Tsunade reasons as I raise my hand. With all due respect, I believe that Sasori is being truthful. We have a chance to capture a known traitor to the Leaf Village. If we don't act, then Orochimaru will complete his unholy ritual and quite possibly become strong enough to finish what he started 3 years ago. I countered as the history lessons that I put myself through prior to testing to becoming a chunin in order to pass the exams. Lady Tsunade reaches for a stack of papers and handed them to me. According to this, the damage Ms. Nanaya has INF. Licked on Sakura has been placed on medical leave for the next few months. I was planning on allowing Sakura to be placed on the team, but it seems that Makoto has volunteered in her place. Tsunade saw it with an evil grin that promises untold agony if you even think about trying to back out of the mission. Why yes ma'am, I will perform this mission to the best of my abilities. Makoto nervously spoke. As the killing intent from Tsunade was thick in the air. Omake. This is Konoha. Makoto's paw. It was the night before Team Kakashi were to leave and I was heading back to Noel's apartment with an armload of groceries since Tsunade assigned me to stay with her until things settle down, and trust me, she needs the help. Considering that her food has been proven to kill AS rank missing nin it WOU. LDB understandable that the grocers are declaring her a menace to all produce. And was pretty much blacklisted from the stores. From what I have learned from Naruto, Noel is taking cooking lessons Ramayame Ichiraku, and it has been slow going, due to the fact whenever Noel is placed in front of a stove she has a tendency to add other ingredients other than what the recipe calls for. All of a sudden, then I hear the distinctive growl of a very large dog behind me. I turn my head to see a white dog the size of a small pony growling at me, and a boy my age with 2 red fang-like marks on his face also growling alongside the dog. My instincts are screaming for me to run and try to get away from both of them. I drop the groceries and proceed to run like hell away from the two of them, not caring where I should go as long as I get away from them. As I run, I mentally thank myself for keeping in shape after all these years. I turn my head to see the boy and his dog keeping up with me when all of a sudden, a noise ahead of me catches my attention. I turn my head to see 2 older women that are obviously related to the boy running towards me with 4 additional dogs. I quickly turn to my right and powered on more speed and narrowly avoid a cart that was being pulled as the chase leads me to one of the various training grounds, and following my instincts I run straight up the nearest tree. I sit on one of the branches, sighing in relief when I heard Naruto calling out to them and carrying a rolled up newspaper, and smacks the boy in the forehead. Bad Kiba, he sternly tells him as the boy, now identified as Kiba, rubs his free head. What the hell, Naruto? He growls as Naruto smacks him again, but harder. The older women watched in as Kiba was being scolded like a misbehaving puppy. After a few minuets of beating Kiba with a rolled up newspaper, Kiba had finally reached his breaking point. Damn you, Naruto. You'll pay for that. Kiba shifted into a fighting position and Naruto made a cross-shaped hand sign, and with the words Shadow Clone Jutsu, 300 of him appeared, standing on every surface around them. As the 2 cowered in fear, one stepped forward. There, the dogs shake. Sheer terror gripping tight their hearts with icy fingers. Knowing full well what merciless horrors they have suffered from just one Naruto. Yet they stare now at an army of 300. Horik, clones all raised their newspapers and shouted, "Bad dog! Bad dog! Bad dog! We outnumber the enemy a paltry 300 to 2. Good odds for any chunin. Give thanks, men, for the 3rd Hokage for letting us learn this jutsu. For victory." They started to descend on Kiba and the dog, who had the wise idea of getting the hell out of there. That should put him in his place, one of the women spoke before walking after them. Knowing she will find a traumatized Kiba at the end of the chase. End Omake. To be continued. Me. For those of you who are just joining us, the current results of the P. Ol is 20 for having Makoto replace Hinata and 11 against changing the pairing. The poll will be up until January 22nd, so please vote. Next time. An extra teammate. This chapter will cover the blonde Shota Carl Clover. Carl Clover. Character voice. Miyuki Sawashiro, JP, Michelle Ruff Eng. Carl is a young boy who, like Noel and Jin, was a student at the military academy, but dropped out without warning while Noel and Jin graduated. Currently, he is after Ragna's bounty and the Azure Grimoire, leading him to become a vigilante. He travels with a maid-like puppet called Nirvana, whom he believes to be his sister Ada. He is unwilling to see that she is in fact the Nox Nictors, Deus Machina, Nirvana, a causality weapon in the form of a marionette which amplifies its owner's desires to kill. After several people attempted to disassemble or remove Nirvana from him, Carl became extremely paranoid and possessive over her. However, Nirvana is indeed Ada as a result of her and Carl's father, Relius, who implemented her body into the marionette Nirvana, but because of Carl's mental state on what happened to his sister, many don't believe Ada is Nirvana and assume Nirvana is controlling Carl's mind. It seems that Wachenheim has some history with Nirvana, as he is able to talk to and understand her just as Carl is. During a conversation, Nirvana tries to attack him, but he mentions that they are not enemies anymore, and manages to persuade her to calm down. Carl's drive, automaton, controls Nirvana, allowing for tag team attacks. As always, Hoodie Who, Ink-Stained Liar, Breaking Fates CU, RSE Rebel 14, Ink-Stained Liar, written by Jailargant. Me. Now is the event you've all been waiting for, the second Sasuke retrieval arc. Now typical disclaimers apply. I do not own Naruto or BlazBlue in any shape or form. And I apologize about making a mistake on the poll. I didn't realize it until after I posted the last chapter. Anyway, the results is with 23 people wanting the pairing to remain Naruto. Hinata, Noel, and 17 for Naruto, Makoto, Noel. I will comply with the wishes of the fans and make it into a Naruto, Hinata, Noel FIC. Noel's POV. Today is the day we head out to the Tenshu Bridge, and since Kakashi was in the hospital due to Charka exhaustion, the Hokage assigned a former Anbu member named Yamato to fill in for him while he is recovering along with Sai. I don't know much about him except that he's a rude jerk that doesn't know the meaning of the word tact. Good morning. As you are well aware, Kakashi is recovering from your previous mission, so the Hokage assigned me to fill in for him. My name is Yamato, and this young man next to me is Sai, who is assigned to us on the council's orders. Yamato spoke as he pointed to a pale-skinned boy around Naruto's age with ink-black hair. We ring a standard shinobi pants, a cut-off shirt, and a jacket missing the left sleeve, and on his back was a tanto. Sai gives a smile that looked disturbingly fake as he extends his hand out. It's very nice to be on this team. Naruto hesitated but grabs his hand. Sai commented, such a weak handshake. Are you sure you're a male? He asks, throwing us completely off guard. Since then Sai has continuous Lee insult us and covering it up with a fake smile, only to be punched in the face by Makoto with authority, sending him into the ground each time in the traditional ostrich position. By that I mean Sai's head sticking into the ground and his body arched, and me shooting at his feet to make him dance to the point of exhaustion eventually gets old, especially if the victim keeps calling you an IR awning board and compared you to a piece of lumber. Sadly, Yamato prevents us from actually killing him for peace of mind, and after threatening to lock us up in a wooden cage in conjunction with his FACEAN, Yamato's scary face whenever he threatens the team. After yet another beatdown on Sai, we head towards a nearby hot spring resort in order to prepare for the next leg of our journey. As Mach, Oto and I soak in the hot water, letting the tensions of that day. I think about Naruto. When I first met him, he seemed to have a heavy burden on his shoulders, but after learning the truth about his paw, I could not help but wish I was here sooner in order to spare him from the pain. So Noel, how are things for you since you've arrived here? Makoto asks me while sighing in contentment. Well, for most part isn't too bad, aside from that pink-haired harlot Sakura trying to make Naruto's and my life a living hell. I said, thinking about Makoto's little bout with said harlot. From what I've gathered, she used to be on Naruto's old team, right? Makoto speaks up as she grabs a nearby wash towel. Yes, she was. But she is also the biggest Sasuke fangirl there is. After his defection, his fan club disbanded save for Sakura and a few diehard members refusing to believe that he turned traitor willingly. I explained as I look at the sky. Then if the spy we're supposed to meet knows where Sasuke, then it could be a trap for us. Makoto pointed out. True, I've read Naruto's mission reports and his missions escalates based on the threat at the worst possible moment. His first C-ranked MI. Eshin became a high B-ranked low A rank because the client lied about the parameters of the mission. I said as I mentally recounted the details of the reports. So the odds of a simple snatch and Ab will quickly go straight to hell are going to be high, huh? Makoto asked with a deadpanned expression on her face. Considering Naruto's luck, yes. I said as Makoto started sobbing about the unfairness of it all. A few days later, the four of us watch as Yamato Sasori crawls towards to the center of the bridge. Unfortunately, due to the sounds of the wind, we cannot hear anything even with Makoto's enhanced hearing on hand, but we tense ourselves for the possibility of something going wrong. Naruto lets out a gasp as the hooded figure revealed itself to be Kabuto. Yakushi, a known traitor to Konoha. After the failed invasion 3 years ago and Orochimaru's right-hand man. More like hand job. All of a sudden Yamato shoves Kabuto out of the way to intercept a kunai slash from the snake saw. Nin himself, and Yamato gives us the signal to be prepared to fight the immortal obsessed madman. His eyes are cold and calculating like a viper waiting for its prey, just waiting for a chance to kill you. I mentally shudder as though I have seen those eyes somewhere else but could not recall when or where. Kabuto adjusts his glasses and looks at Makoto. An interesting specimen, my lord. Is she one of yours? He asks as Orochimaru takes an inquisitive look on his face as he examines Makoto. After a moment Orochimaru spoke, and the coldness in his voice was like having a bucket of ice-cold water poured on me. I can assure you that she isn't one of my experiments. Perhaps she has some form of bloodline mutation. Tell me, child, are there others like you? I would be very interested if there were others like you. This opens a new avenue of experimentation. His eyes alit with the insane light of madness as I knew that he would do everything in his power to torture and experiment on Makoto. Nah. Ruto growled as he stepped forward. Where is he? As the whisker marks on his face became darker and more defined and his blue eyes turned darker. Orochimaru turned his attention to Naruto, smirking. Well, if it isn't the Kyuubi vessel. I wonder who is stronger, you or your precious Sasuke. And those words seemed to be the trigger that Naruto needed to unleash the Kyuubi's power. The shockwave from The power shakes the bridge as Naruto was covered in red charca. It was vulpine in form, but it has 2 tails. And the killing intent coming from Naruto is powerful. I don't think even the Black Beast could compare to this. Remember, Noel was born after the Black Beast died, so she has no idea how powerful it is. And thus began a one-sided battle between both Naruto and Orochimaru that eventually destroys the bridge that we were standing on. Fortunately, Yamato ordered us to evacuate the bridge before Naruto's third tail emerged. The killing intent from before skyrocketed higher, and I could actively relive that moment where I almost died in the cauldron. To be continued. Me. Well, chapter 14 is in the books. Next time. Kyuubi Unleashed. This chapter will cover the loudmouth ninja himself. No, not Naruto. Bang Shishigami. Bang Shishigami. Character voice. Tsuyoshi Koyama, J.P. Tony Oliver, E.N.G. After losing his home in the Ikaruga Civil War and his master Tenho at the hands of Jin Kasaragi, Bang and his followers began living in Kagutsuchi, waiting for the right moment to strike back at Jin and the Noel. There, he declares himself a hero of love and justice and dedicates himself to terminating evil and overturning injustice wherever he goes. He is quite over-exuberant, prone to speeches and tangents as well as making dramatic entrances. He has a romantic fascination with Lychee, always willing to go charging in headlong if he sees someone making her upset. He is overzealous in every way, subtlety not usually at the forefront of his mind. This is only reinforced where his raw heat in continuum shift destroys almost all of his clothes. However, his fiery spirit and will have earned him the respect of a few characters, most notably Hakumen. He also wants Ragna's bounty to rebuild the glory of Ikaruga. Bang possesses a Nox Nictors called Phoenix, Retinju, but is unaware he has them nor its powers. In the home console version, when he uses his Furin Kazan move, its own theme song. Ome no Tetsui ni Kugi wo Ute, sung by Hironobu Kageyama, will start playing. This song, along with his choice of clothing, movement and mannerisms, is derived as a parody of the tokusatsu hero concept. More specifically, Kamen Rider, Bang's Drive, Burning Heart, attacks and defends simultaneously. As always, Hoodie Who, The Serpent's Lair, Breaking Fate's Curse Rebel 15, The Serpent's Lair written by Jailargant. Me. I'm back after finally getting my computer fixed. I apologize for the delay. I have a surprise coming up for my readers, but I'm not telling you what it is yet. Suffice it to say you're going to enjoy it. To answer one of my review's question about making this a Naruto, Noel, Makoto, Hinata FIC, I'm sorry but it's not happening. I have too much on my plate without adding another to it. Now on to the disclaimers. Ahem, I Jailargant do not own Naruto or BlazBlue in any shape or form. Noel's POV. A.N. Play Endless Despair, Hazama's unlimited theme at this point. Iwa. TCH as Naruto enters what's called the dreaded four-tailed state. The power coming from him is overwhelming. If I were to compare it to the Azure Grimoire, this would beat it hands down. The power comin'. G from Naruto as malevolent and evil would be an understatement. Naruto leaps after Orochimaru, leaving Kabuto behind. Yamato, sir, please make a bridge across and I'll make sure Naruto doesn't go too far. I ask him while Makoto decided to hold off Kabuto so that he wouldn't attempt to help his master. Yamato nodded and creates a simple wooden bridge, and I rush across the bridge. Once I make it to the other side, I look back to see that Sai was flying off on a ink bird, no doubt wanting to get a bird's eye view. I thought, thinking back to what Yamato suspects, that Sai is a double agent wanting to strike a deal with Orochimaru. I arrive in time to see Orochimaru knit himself back together with snakes, and I thought Erican was disgusting. I thought comparing him to the insect-like human that I foe UGHT once, and the fact that he's a mass of insects given a form is unsettling to say the least. I run to the source of the sounds of destruction with growing apprehension as they increase in volume. I nearly fall to the ground as a shockwave makes the ground shake violently, and an inhuman roar fills the air as I entered the clearing to see a human-shaped fox covered in a crimson substance that looks suspiciously like blood, with four swishing tails attacking Orochimaru. I could see the large-scale destruction that littered the landscape, and for a moment I was absorbed by watching the fight. IGN ordered everything around me as a fifth tail started to emerge. Naruto. I scream as the power from Naruto stops and turns his attention towards me. He then rushes at me with incredible speeds, and I duck my head to avoid having Naruto lop my head off. While this was happening, Orochimaru decided to escape into the forest. And with a roar he swings his tails to me, and I fire to deflect three of them. I could barely dodge the fourth tail as it almost slammed into my head. I leap over him, and before Naruto could turn I slide and kick the legs out from underneath him and pistol whip him in the face, making his head whip to the side. Then follow up with throwing my gun underhanded and having twirl like a boomerang, temporarily stunning him. Zero gun. Fenrir. I shout as my guns transform into my Sig Nature chain gun and stab Naruto in the shoulder, making him grunt in pain before a volley of gunfire with enough force to send him into the air before firing 3 missiles and immediately create a shish Ado clone which leaps off of the chain gun and high into the air and perform Thor, unleashing a barrage of gunfire before firing 3 missiles, striking Naruto, enveloping him in a large explosion and a thick cloud of smoke. End song. At this point, I dispel the clone and prepare for the next attack. The smoke finally clears and I could see Naruto standing there, but something was off. I look close. And see Naruto has one of his claws in the ground, and before I could react I feel something stab me in the stomach and something wet on my clothes. With a feeling of foreboding I slowly look down. See Naruto's claws in me, and I can see the blood that was now staining my battle dress. The sudden realization strikes: Naruto stabbed me with his claws, and oddly enough I didn't feel any pain. Maybe is because I'm still in shock and it hasn't hit me yet. Finally, after what seemed like an eternity, the agonizing pain started to consume me slowly at first, then the intensity of it was blinding and I fell backwards. And as I started to black out, all I could do was whisper one single question. Why, Naruto, why? To be continued. Me. I'm sorry that this chapter is short, but I need to get back into the swing of writing again. I posted a new poll on my profile. Next time. A delirious dream. This chapter will cover the member of the Zero Division Tsubaki Yayoi. Tsubaki Yayoi, character voice. Asami Amai, JP, Julie Ann Taylor, ENG. Jin's childhood friend, relative and Noel's former roommate from the military academy and a member of the Noel's Zero Division. She's described as a straight-A student, and has a rather no-nonsense personality. She's very serious and reserved, and is a member of the dignified Yayoi family. By the end of CT Story Mode's true end, she is assigned by Hazama to kill Noel Jin. Originally appeared as sub-character in the BlazBlue, Calamity Trigger story mode. In Continuum Shift she is a playable character and battles using the Armagus, Izayoi, which allows her to control light and charge her attacks. However, the continuous use of Izayoi will make its user go blind. When she meets Hakumen during his story mode, he reveals that in the original timeline when he was still Jin, he unwittingly caused her death by refusing to listen to her. During Hazama's story, it is revealed that Tsubaki's visions after the use of Izayoi are memories of the original timeline, in which she works as Jin's subordinate and eventually becomes his lover. Terumi uses this information against her, stating that Noel Vermillion's existence is the sole reason that she was deprived of her chance to be with Jin. However, he purposely hides the fact that even without the existence of Noel, Tsubaki would still have died. Bitter and confused, Tsubaki blames Noel for destroying her Fae and denying her the chance to be with the man that she loves. By the end of CS True End, Tsubaki sides with Terumi and the Noel to take revenge against Noel, even though Jin is siding with Noel. Tsubaki's drive, install, allows her to charge her moves. As always Hoodie Who, Despair, Breaking Fate's Curse Rebel 16, Despair written by Jailargant. Me. I have an announcement to make. Platinum the Trinit. Y is slated for a May release, so for fans of the Series 1 have to say it's about time. Now I do not own BlazBlue or any of its character, and the same applies to Naruto. Noel's Dream. Hazama looks Noel in the eyes with an almost sympathetic smile on his face as he cups Noel's chin. You did see it right. The real world, the real story. Can't you hear it? All those hideous filth-covered monsters, crying. You've gotta feel it. Every single soul on this planet wants you dead. This world's supposed to be dead. But somehow, we managed to screw with it so much that it's gotten stuck, and now it repeats itself. Again and again and again and again and again and again. But why? Noel whimpers as he continues on speaking, ignoring Noel's words. Hazama releases her chin and turns and walks away from her. And she could hear a large sigh coming from the captain as he looks behind her and then turns his head away from her before speaking. You really want to know? Fine, I'll tell you. Once upon a time, mankind found the first gate. Being the stupid humans that they are, they decided they wanted to know what was on the other side, so they created what they called Boundary Interface Prime Field devices. See, humans are such pussies that they can't survive on the other side, and their machines are just as pathetic as they are, if not more. So of course, they failed. Over and over and over, until finally, somehow, one of these test subjects made it the way to the deepest part of the boundary, the heart of it, I guess you could say. The Azure, to be exact. And when it did that, well, let's just say shit got real. This thing they call prime fields, when they're lazy developed emotions. One of these puppets built for nothing but observation and research somehow grew a soul. Course all the scientists thought they were goddamn geniuses making some kind of incredible breakthrough. I mean, they were, but not the one they thought. See, when it grew a soul, this prime field also developed the power of the eye, and these scientists, they had no idea just what that meant. I mean, think about it. The eye could observe whatever it wanted, and whatever it observed was real. See, see, Hazama chuckles at his own joke. Noel looks on disbelievingly while after a moment Hazama continues on with his story without any regard to Noel's presence at all. Anyway, before long, the scientists figure this out, and being the small, short-sighted little maggots that they were, they tried to destroy it. That didn't work so well, so they decided to seal it back into the boundary. They threw it all the way down to the bottom, down in the darkness, where there was nothing. But hey, you know this isn't the end. Anybody does. I mean, once humans got a taste of that power, the kind of power a god should have, well, The idiots decided it would be a good idea if they could really tap into the power of the Azure. Might give them a leg up on the battlefield, you know. So they built more prime field devices. But you see, these ones weren't recon tools anymore. Ooh no. These were balls-out weapons of mass destruction. The moment one of these babies popped out of the cauldron, the humans would just seal away its emotion, turning it into a slave. A puppet. Noel remains silent as Hazama's words washes over her and is trying to process the information. Hazama turns briefly to look at Noel's vacant gaze. Still paying attention. Looks kinda empty in there, to be honest. Anyway, this is where it gets interesting. Well, I dunno. If you find tragedies interesting. These things were treated like tools. Well, no, weapons is better. Like a hand grenade or a bomb or something. Just stop it, Noel whispers as Hazama pauses and reaches into his jacket and pulls out a bottle of water. He takes a long drink before offering the bottle to Noel. Seeing her fear-filled eyes, he shrugs his shoulders. And he places the cap back on the bottle and tosses it aside. Man, I'm actually getting tired of talking. Guess that what happens when you make your body do stuff it's not used to, So, you wanna hear more? There's a lot more, You wanna hear it, do ya? He asks, getting in close to Noel's face. No more, please, stop. She stutters as tears were beginning to stream down her face. Hazama Alks back to where he was and turned his back to her in a dramatic fashion. Yes please. Well, if you ask so nicely, of course I'll tell you. You see, the tools, these puppets I've been telling you about. They're your real brothers and sisters. Ha 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 ha. Noel, what am I saying? That's not your real name. So, Noel, what does all of that make you? Stop it. Noel speaks as the overwhelming fear was starting to consume her and a black light begins to shine forth from Bulwark as Hazama suddenly turns to face her, point at her, laughing. Ah. So you've been in denial this whole time? Well, yeah, of course. I guess you would be. I mean, anybody in your situation would do the same, right? Still, this is something you're gonna have to live with, You gotta learn to accept it. You gotta learn to be you. Stop it. Stop. Noel's voice was starting to gain strength as the fear was reaching its breaking point. Hazama spoke dramatically only to be cut off by Noel's screams. Stop it. Hazama smirked as the perfect moment has now revealed itself and was going in for the kill. You aren't a person. You were built. You're just a tool. A puppet. A joke. Who the hell do you think you're fooling with your little act? Well, yourself maybe, but hell. Can't even do that. Now. You're a puppet, girl. Just like that sad sack of crap we all took turns pounding on a while back. Hazama finished as Noel's head leans back and screams in one single word. Stop. As blue and red flames were coming off of Noel's bulwark and starts to swirl around her. And done. Damn, am I good? Wave goodbye to your limiter, Noel. Hazama spoke in glee as the flames were starting to increase in intensity. I don't want this, Noel spoke. In a trance as though she was no longer under her own power. Oh, one last thing, about your toys, sad little bulwark. They were limiters designed for the sole purpose of keeping your emotions from going batshit insane, Anyway, long story short, they were seriously getting to be a real nuisance. Hazama explained as Noel's tears were streaming down her face. I don't want this, T.S. world. Noel spoke as the flames that were now moving around her in an almost giddy vortex. Well, that doesn't matter, now that your leader is completely gone. Oh man, my sincerest thanks, dearest Noel. Thank you, and goodbye. Hazama's words were the last thing Noel hears before the flames started to consume her. End dream. Noel's paw. Play The Road to Hope. Calamity trigger and theme at this time. I groan as the feel of healing chakra was over the wound that Naruto inflicted. I slowly opened my eyes to see Makoto utilizing medical chakra in order to heal the damage dealt to me. During a week prior to the mission, Lady Tsunade gave Makoto a crash course lesson in medical jutsu and had proven while not as good as Sakura's, Makoto is surprisingly good enough to perform the basics. ISL. Aoi sat up and turned my head to see Naruto looking worried at me. Noel, what happened? Naruto asks me in a slightly hoarse voice. If I tell him what happened it'll make it worse for him. And I'm a terrible liar. I thought to myself before I could say anything. Captain Yamato spoke up. Naruto, I'm sad to say that it was you that injured Noel while in your four-tailed state. He spoke in a blunt tone. 1. Noel was planning on lying to you, but I don't see her as a person capable of a good lie to save her life. Yamato said as shame and anguish were now on Naruto's face at the realization of that. Akoto spoke gently to try and ease him. Look Naruto, so what if you threw off the handle? At least you can learn from it. Her words seemed to have an affect as Naruto's face changed into that of resolve and determination. You're right. Let's go and find that pedophilic snake bastard. Naruto declared, standing up before stumbling back, obviously not fully recovered from his transformation as Makoto grabs him to hold him steady. Naruto's paw. Stupid. 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 You just had to go Kyuubi on Orochimaru and injure Noel and nearly kill her in the process. It's a wonder that I didn't kill her in that state. God, Ero-sensei was right, I am an idiot. I thought to myself as we make our way towards the signal Yamato planted on Sai, and not surprisingly it leads to a hole in the ground that a snake like Orochimaru would hide in. After carefully sneaking inside, the three of us split off in hopes to find either Sasuke or Sai and capture them. When a loud explosion rocks the structure and a familiar flare of charka that I haven't sensed in nearly 3 years. I run full tilt towards the source, and not surprisingly there stood Sasuke in all his emo glory. End song and switch to weak execution. Lychee vs Arakan theme at this time. Naruto. The first words in nearly 3 years to me were spoken to me in an even tone as I fought the urge to return the favor of that day at the Valley of the End, and reduce the last Uchiha to nothing more than a bloodstain on the wall. Sasuke Uchiha, by order of the 5th Hokage you are hereby under arrest for desertion and conspiring to a known traitor to the Hidden Leaf Village. Come along quietly or there will be repercussions. Noel spoke as she pulls out her bulwark revolvers and point both barrels at Sasuke. HMPH. It seems that Konoha has lowered its standards since I was last there, Sasuke said as he jumps down from the ledge that was standing on, landing on a smaller one and then jumping onto the floor withdrawing his sword. I could faintly hear the sounds of electricity coming from Sasuke's sword as he held it in a defensive position. Kabuto and Orochimaru appeared next to him. Orochimaru's mouth opens to an inhuman length and reaches inside to pull out his trademark sword Kusanagi and closes his mouth as Noel and Makoto look sick at the display before them. Kabuto makes a few hand signs and his hands started to glow green as he applies his charka scalpels. And all at once Noel faces off against Kabuto while Makoto is to fight Orochimaru while I face Sasuke. Sai was being restrained by Yamato to prevent any interference on his part. I dodge a sword swipe only for him to deflect my kunai with his sword as his blade glows in an electric blue and slashes the air, releasing the stored up energy, nearly hitting Noel while she unleashes barrage after barrage of gunfire, nearly hitting Kabuto each time, but even with his regenerative skills he was starting to tire. Meanwhile Makoto was using her tonfas to block the poisonous blade of Kusanagi and countering it with a powerful blow to his ribs, making him wince in pain. This continued like this for a while until Orochimaru called for a retreat and all three were forced to run away. We'd chase after them, but we have a traitor to take back to Konoha. Unknown location. In a forest clearing within the elemental countries, a hole in space-time rips open, kicking up a violent windstorm, nearly tearing the nearby trees from their roots, and from the portal emerged 7 people. The first person was wearing a purple cape over matching clothing, his pale blonde hair he held back by what appears to be an opera mask. His compatriot moves stiffly as though she lacks full control of her body. Her crimson dress reaches down to her ankles and her blue eyes look ahead blankly. The third person was wearing a red and white Chinese-style dress but is more suited for battle. Her hair is kept in a ponytail held by a panda ornament. Her high heels belies her ability to walk with an impressive bust. The fourth person was dressed in a hooded white robe wearing a mask with a single eye adorning the forehead, and her dark red hair was not completely visible as she casually looks at her new surroundings. The fifth person has long silver hair braided that reaches down to the middle of her back. Her clothing consists of skin-tight white clothing and a matching cape with red tags. Her one red eye looks on a head while the other is covered in an ornate eye patch. The sixth and final person to step out is wearing a black business suit with 2 buckles on the front, his lime green hair kept down by the fedora on his head. His face a perpetual cat-like expression, and there was an aura of uneasiness about him. The figure turns to the portal where another figure was floating inside it. Wearing a purple robe and matching witch's hat, the man nodded and the portal closes, leaving the 7 behind. Now then, shall we begin the hunt for the azure? The figure spoke, picking a random dire action, leading his party out of the clearing and deeper into the forest towards civilization. To be continued. Me. Well, things are starting to heat up. Keep the reviews coming. The dream sequence is Fr. Own Noel's true ending from Continuum Shift, but I added some things to make it more interesting. Next time. Attempted kidnapping. This chapter will cover the Murakumo units Mu-12, Lambda-11 and Nu-13. Mu-No. 12, Mu. Character voice. Kanako Kondo, JP, Christina Valenzuela, ENG. Playable only in the console version as well as the true final boss of the game. This is the true form of the perfect Akumo unit Noel Vermilion after fusing with the true Azure Grimoire that she possesses. Her memories as Noel are erased by Terumi, and she serves him for one purpose: to destroy the Senkishin unit, Amaterasu, and erase the world from its existence. She exists as the sword called Kamigoroshi no Tsurugi Kusanagi, sword to slay the gods, Kusanagi, and her hatred for the world has increased substantially, making her aggressive towards everything she fights. She was once revealed in the arcade version, ending in a cliffhanger. By the end of CS True End, Ragna defeats Mu-12 and reawakens the Ray El Noel at the cost of his Armagus and his left arm. Her battle appearance is different from Lambda-11 or V13, but it retains the Murakumo to become her armor and weapons. Mu-12's drive, Stein's gunner, use the power of Kusanagi and summons floating crystals that attack the opponent with beams. Lambda No. 11 Lambda. Character voice. Kanako Kondo, JP, Christina Valenzuela, ENG. An imitation Murakumo unit, created by Kokono by combining the body of the 11th experimental replica of Saya with the soul of Nu-13, which was recovered after falling into the gates of Sheol during the conclusion of Calamity Trigger's story mode. Kokono completely erased her memory, and as a result, Lambda-11 is only interested in carrying out Kokon's orders, although some fragment of her original self manages to resurface when she confronts Ragna. She was originally mentioned in the opening of Calamity Trigger's story mode as a failed experiment and as a palette swap of Nu-13 in Continuum Shift's character roster. In the console version, she sacrifices herself to protect Ragna from Hazama's killing blow. As her soul and body disintegrate, she tells Ragna that she loves him and gives him the rest of her power. In terms of gameplay, she is essentially Nu-13 with some new and altered moves. Her unlimited form is new, which can either be unlocked in-game or purchased via downloadable content. Lambda-11 possesses an inferior version of V13's Sword Summoner drive, named Sword Summoner 2, Nu-No. 13 New. Character voice. Kanako Kondo, JP, Christina Valenzuela, ENG. The main antagonist of Calamity Trigger and a cyborg who was forged in Kagutsuchi's gates of Sheol. She was programmed to terminate anyone she deems as hostile subjects that come near the gate. Nu-13 is also shown to have a split personality, split between an emotionless girl when around others and a clingy young girl when around Ragna. Nu-13 wants to absorb Ragna and have him join her in destroying the world, because she, too, possesses a piece of the Azure Grimoire, although neither she nor Ragna realize the pieces they possess are actually imitations. When Ragna refuses to join her and breaks her heart, she decides to take him by force. She also knows Hakumen, recognizing him as a Senkishin unit. She, as with Noel, was made as a replica of Saya, Ragna and Jin's sister, who is presumed to be dead. They seem to share some of Saya's memories, though nothing congruous. When Ragna and Nu-13 merge, they become the Black Beast, something Nu-13 seems to be intent on causing above all else. In battle, she summons numerous swords to keep pressure on her opponents from a distance. Her battle appearance even stems from her Nox Nictors, Lux Sanctus, Murakumo, which resembles a large sword with a face that breaks apart to become her armor and weapons. She appears in the console version of Continuum Shift as the unlimited form of Lambda, which can be unlocked in-game or through downloadable content. V13's Drive, Sword Summoner, summons Fanta. Small swords to fly out and strike the opponent. As always, Hoodie Who, Eternal Rapture, Breaking Fate's Curse Rebel 17, Eternal Rapture written by Jailargant. Me. That's right people. Hazama is in the Elam. Entel countries ready to troll some unexpected ninjas. Now I have a poll on my profile on the upcoming fights. The more votes on the possible fight, the better chance that it will be first. Typical disc. Limers apply. I do not own Naruto of BlazBlue in any shape or form. Noel's POV. It has nearly been 3 weeks since the failed recovery of Sasuke, and Naruto is currently hard at work trying to create his own jutsu, while Makoto is training in lightning jutsu since she discovered that she can channel lightning in her comet cannon. She's been training and researching ways to channel lightning jutsus into her tonfas. Hinata has put in more hours at the hospital to improve her medical training under Lady Tsunade, leaving me to train alone. Sure, spending time with the other teams is okay, but I prefer to train by myself. Especially if Tenten's eyeing my bulwarks hungrily. Speaking of teammates, Sakura was effectively dropped from the shinobi program due to mental instability from her obsession with Sasuke Uchiha, and thus she was given a dishonorable discharge. Inochi Yamankana wiped her knowledge of ninjutsus and sealed off her charka and sent to live as a ward of Konoha. His daughter Ino dropped her friendship with Sakura and refuses to acknowledge her existence. Whenever Sakura tries to talk to Ino, she just ignores her, and the other ninjas give her looks of contempt and loathing. Of cower. Say from the rumors that I've heard, she's been on the receiving end of several pranks from several new genin teams and were encouraged to use every ounce of creativity. I know that we were ordered we would be called out at any moment, that the Akatsuki would enter Fire Country at any time, but I can't help but feel that something is coming. I mused to myself as the sounds of storm clouds OED foretelling the oncoming storm that will hit Konoha. Hinata's POV. Finally. Now I can go home and get some sleep, I said as I stretched my arms and noted the dark gray looming in the sky and thunder accompanying it, indicating that it will start raining soon. I decided to take my time in reaching home, enjoying the smell of the oncoming rain. Excuse me, miss. I am looking for a colleague of mine and I was wondering if you could help me. A feminine voice spoke. I turned to see a figure in immaculate white robes wearing a mask with a single eye. What is your colleague's name, if I may ask? I asked the mystery woman hesitantly. Her name is Lieutenant Noel Vermilion. I am First Lieutenant Tsubaki Yayoi of the Zero Squadron. My orders are to eliminate Lieutenant Vermilion for dereliction of duty. These orders come from the Imperator of the Novus Orbis Labarium, and as a member of the Wings of Justice it is my sworn duty to carry out this order, she said as she removed her mask to reveal a woman slightly older than Noel with dark red hair. Her blue eyes were clouded slightly. I'm sorry, Miss Tsubaki, but I'm afraid that I cannot comply with your request. Noel is a good friend of mine and I will protect her no matter what. By order of the Hokage, you are under arrest for conspiracy to commit murder and entry without proper paperwork. I shall ask you to come in quietly, I said in a voice that suggested that she must comply. Tsubaki said nothing, but her clothing changed in a flash of light to reveal her battle clothes. I slip into my gentle fist stance. May I ask the name of the person whom I must fight? Tsubaki asks me. I nodded my head. My name is Hinata Hyuga, heiress to the Hyuga clan, I said as Tsubaki readies her shield book. Tenten's POV. Geez, if guys training doesn't kill me these late night patrols, will, I thought bitterly to myself while taking a shower. Due to the increased threat of the Akatsuki, patrols around the village has been increased to include genin teams and higher. I step out of the shower and dry myself off. I could not help but think about the two newest additions to our ranks, Makoto and Noel. When I first met Noel, I brushed her off as weak and riding on the coattails of her teammates, but after seeing her in action I could see now that she has a lot of potential. Makoto looked as though she was a born fighter. She even managed to fight both Guy and Lee on an even playing field. Even Guy's youthful flames couldn't keep up with the hyperactive squirrel girl, and Guy's legendary for his flames of youth. It's not like there's anyone can be that over the top like Guy sensei anyway, I thought as I gather up my supplies and head outside. Ronin Guy. A man wearing a green bordello-type jacket showing off his impressive physique, his red tattered scarf fluttering in the wind as the cherry blossoms swirl around him in a dance. He looks out over his town proudly showing off his X-shaped scar that he received in the Ikaruga Civil War. The same war that claimed the life of his master. The giant nail on his back, the last memento of his late master, hangs from his back. This man is known throughout Ronengai as Bang Shishigami sneezes as he raises his head to the sky. I sense that someone is questioning the flames of justice. I must find this evildoer and teach him that no one can defeat justice. And with loud laughing he bounds off, searching in vain. Konoha. I shudder at the chill that just crept down my spine at the thought of someone more eccentric than Guy-sensei out there when I noticed the storm clouds in the sky. Oh great. I'm going to get cold and wet and by the end of my shift sick. It's times like these I hate being a ninja. Oh well, as long as I get paid to use all the sharp pointy objects I have, I guess I can't really complain. I mused to myself as the sound of thunder was echoing throughout the empty streets. You are so cute. A woman's voice calls out, breaking me from my thoughts. I turn my attention to the source to see a woman in her late 20s wearing red wire-rimmed glasses in a red and white Chinese-style battle dress and her long black hair tied into a ponytail held up with a hairclip in the shape of a panda. Excuse me, I ask her as the look in her eyes indicate that she's a few kunai short of a full set. You are absolutely adorable. I must insist that you try on some clothes that I have with me, she said as she pulls out a maid's outfit and a pink princess outfit with lots and lots of ruffles. Glaring at the two monstrosities, I pull out a kunai. Hell no, you crazy cosplay addict. I shouted at her and throw said kunai, making her drop the princess outfit and unseal a sword and proceed to stab it repeatedly until it was nothing more than Swiss cheese. The woman watched all and I could tell that she was now pissed off at me. How dare you destroy that beautiful dress? I swear in the name of cosplayers everywhere that I shall be avenged, she said as she produces a STAFF and twirls it expertly. My name is Lychee Fei Ling and in the name of cosplayers I shall punish you, she growled. I reseal the sword and pull out a staff of my own and with a crack of lightning we rushed towards each other. Makoto's pav. Come on Guy, I'm not even winded yet, I complained as Guy was breathing hard from today's workout session. Ever since I arrived here I've been enjoying these sparring sessions with Guy and Lee, wanting to test the power of youth against me, but by the end of the day they wind up winded and tired. Guy staggers and gives me a thumbs up. Makoto, you are as youthful as always. I think it's time to call it a day. It looks like it's about to rain, he said as I noticed the grayish clouds overhead. I wave goodbye to the duo as I make my way towards a nearby all-you-can-eat buffet. One of the downsides of being a beastkin is that we often have a high metabolism, which from what I've heard could be up to par with an Akamichi. Ah, Ms. Makoto, I was wondering where you were. A deep baritone voice spoke as soon as I make my way to an empty section of the street. I whirl around to see Relis Clover, head of the engineering department of the Noel, standing in front of me. Relis Clover, how did you get here? I asked, shocked that he arrived here since all the technology that Professor Kokono created has been kept under lock and key. It is quite simple, my dear spy. You are not the only one to have a mole, he said cryptically, indicating that he knew I was in actual reality a spy for Sector 7 and that he too had a spy in there working for him. You stole Kokono's trans-dimensional projector, I reasoned. Correct. I knew that you were more than you seemed when I first met you, Relis said. Suddenly I sensed something behind me and I duck and roll out of my attacker's path, only to see a puppet the size of an average woman, but her crystal blue eyes stare on blankly. Her crimson dress reaches to her feet and her hooked claws barely touch the ground as she strode forward to stand next to Relis. Allow me to introduce you to my Fluctus Redactum Ignis, my puppet of choice named after my deceased wife, he spoke as I tense up as I ready myself for a fight. Hokage Monument. Ah. It looks like we finally found your sister. New Captain Hazama spoke as Mew looks on impassively while they overlook the village, unaware of the battles that shall start. Sighs as he removes his hat and look at the sky. Wow, I couldn't picture a more perfect setting to herald the end of the world with. Come on New, he ordered. Acknowledged, New said as the two of Hem head towards the village searching for Noel. To be continued. Me. Next time. Blind Justice. This chapter will cover Relis, Ignis and Ada Clover. Please keep the reviews coming and vote in the poll on my profile. As it stands, 1 vote is for Naruto vs. Hazama and 1 vote Tsubaki vs. Hinata. Decide the fate of this FIC by voting. Relius Clover. Voiced by Junichi Sawabe, JP, Travis Willingham, ENG. Carl's father who created the Murakumo units, as well as turning his daughter Ada into Nirvana. Not much else is known other than that he is also known as the puppeteer. Carl wishes to get his revenge on him for the way he made his sister Ada. In Carl's story in BlazBlue Continuum Shift, it turns out that Relius has his own red Nirvana, which is in fact Carl's mother. At the end, it was revealed that he is one of Imperator Librarius' subordinates. Phase 0 reveals that Relius has been alive for over a century. Ignis Clover. Ignis is the wife of Relius Clover, and the mother of Ada Clover and Carl Clover. Ignis was previously human, but through her husband's experiments she has become a Nox Nictor's Deus Ex Nirvana clone just like her daughter Ada. She does the bidding of Relius Clover, engaging in combat on his command. Her outfit is of similar design to Nirvana, although her hat and dress are a deep red. Her eyes are blue in color and have irises. This is in contrast to Nirvana's pale ceramic face and lifeless eyes. Ignis' hands have sharp, hooked protrusions on the fingertips, and she uses these to deadly effect when grappling with Nirvana. Ada Clover, Carl's sister whose W, as turned by their father Relius into the Deus Ex Nirvana, thus fueling Carl's desire to get revenge on him. In her current state as Nirvana, Ada acts as Carl's supporter throughout each match of his. As always, Hoodie Who, Justice. Breaking Fate's Curse Rebel 18, Justice. Written by Jailargant. Me. Okay, I know Hazama vs. Naruto is in the lead, but I promised Sunny Ninja that I'd get this Tsubaki vs. Hinata fight out of the way. But don't worry, after this chapter is done I'll remove this fight from the poll so that you can decide on the next fight. I do not own Naruto or BlazBlue in any shape or form. Typical disclaimers apply. Hinata's POV. Play Memory of Tears. Tsubaki vs. Noel's theme now. I dodge a sword swipe from Tsubaki's blade and block her shield with a foot. Using her momentum I jump of F the shield to gain some distance from her as her sword changed into a chain blade. I noted her eyes are unfocused as her attacks attempt to hit with a startling near-perfect accuracy. I noticed that your eyes are unfocused, Tsubaki. Why is that? I ask her as she shifted into a defensive position. It is because I am slowly losing my sight. Tsubaki answered, much to my surprise. You're going blind. I replied. Tsubaki nodded. Yes. To explain why, you must understand that my family holds bloodline purity above all else, since we are one of the 12 noble families, but ours are on the brink of extinction. The Noel has warned my father numerous times to change his policies, but he refuses to listen. As a result, our family is known as bloodline purists, while the Kasaragi family is considered borderline mercenaries. Among our family's treasures is the sealed weapon Izayoi. It is one of the few weapons that was used during the Ikaruga Civil War that is considered a forbidden tool of destruction. She said as suddenly everything around me was growing darker. What's going on? I asked nervously as finally there was nothing but darkness all around me. This is the power of Izayoi. The Po are to control and steal light from all around you. Tsubaki's voice called out from the darkness all around me. There's more to it, is there? I ask as I activate my Byakugan only to reveal that the darkness also affects my bloodline. As I have said, this is a forbidden weapon. The downside is that the more I use this, the more of my eyesight is sacrificed. She said from behind me. I cry out in pain as her sword slashes my arm. I clutch my arm and clot the bleeding using a medical jutsu. If that's true, then why haven't you discarded it if you knew what it can do? I nearly shouted, not knowing Here the next attack is coming from is frightening to say the least. Could this be a special type of genjutsu like that of the Kurama clan? I thought to myself. The Kurama clan may be a minor clan in Konoha, but their reality-altering genjutsu bloodline is said to make whatever the genjutsu is setually real. But over time their numbers has dwindled to almost nothing. My sensei Kurenai tried to help Akumo, the heiress to the Kurama clan, but it proved to be in vain. In the end, Yakumo had her powers sealed away and treated like a curse in her family. That was until Naruto managed to break the Edo Th. At was controlling her, allowing her full use of her powers but without any problems associated with it. I do this in the name of justice. Tsubaki said as her sword slashes my leg. Justice. I ask as I rush to heal my leg. No one is above the law. Not even I. Noel violated our laws, therefore she has to face justice. Tsubaki's voice said as I suddenly feel her sword against my throat, threatening to slit it. What if she's innocent? Didn't you even think about that? I ask as my elbow hits her ribs, making her loosen the sword against my throat, and I turn and deliver a kick to her midsection, almost making her drop Izuyoi. It does not matter whether or not she is innocent. It is my sworn duty to enforce judgment on the guilty, even if that person is a friend, Tsubaki said, and I could hear the sadness in her voice. What? I was shocked at her admission. It's true. Noel and I went to the academy together, and we were in the student council along with Jin Kasaragi, Makoto Nanaya and Carl Clover. I was the perfect student, getting straight A's, and grew close to Noel and Jin. After we graduated, I was inducted into the Zero Squadron and taught that justice, no matter how small, must be dealt, and that those who break the rules deserve to die, she said as I could imagine that at this point Tsubaki is preparing to finish me off. Then nothing I can say will change your mind then. I.A.S.K. the infinite darkness that surrounds me. I must stay this course, Hinata Hyuga. I'm sorry, but I have to kill you, she said as I suddenly could feel a pain in my abdomen. On instinct I reach out and grab the source, and to my shock I could actually see Tsubaki's sword in me. I let go and there was nothing but darkness once more. I just figured out Izuyoi's weakness. As long as I have a hold of you, I can see you, I said as I disabled her left arm. Her arm hangs limply as I delivered a palm strike to her chin, making her head snap back, and she let go of her sword. I have to hurry while I still have a chance, I thought as the darkness was rapidly approaching. You are within the range of my trigrams, I said as I proceed to perform the Hyuga technique that I perfected. 8 trigrams, 128 palms. 2 palms, I said as I struck her twice. 4 palms, I continued as my attacks double each time I connect. 8 palms, my strikes started to become faster as each time I connect the darkness is held back. 16 palms, my hands now pick up speed. 32 palms, I was now almost finished, I just need to keep connecting my attacks. 64 palms, I said as she was now staggering from the attacks. This is it. 128 palms, I yell as my final attack connects. As Tsubaki started to fall, the darkness shattered, revealing a small group of Anbu. I grab the sword that was sticking out and forcibly remove it, holding down a cry of pain, and toss it aside. Your idea of justice is nothing more than an ordered execution, I breathed as I call lapse, and the last thing I see before I succumb to the darkness once more is Lady Tsunade hovering over me, trying to heal my stab wound. And as the darkness approaches, I could feel the rain starting to come down. End song. At this point, Noel's paw. A few drops of rain is what prompting me to run to the nearest shelter to escape the oncoming rain. Ah, Noel, it is so good to see you again. Adistu. Our Bingley familiar voice spoke behind me that is like a bucket of cold water being poured onto me. I swerve my head around, trying to find the source. Did you miss me? The voice spoke again, only now it was directly behind me. I scream and jump around to see that my worst fears has come to pass. Captain Hazama has found me. See Captain Hazama, I said as he stands there with his hands in his pockets. Tisk, 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 I gave you a simple order and you fucked it up. He sighed as another figure was coming up from behind him. But I guess that's to be expected, really, he said as the figure was coming into focus, and to my mounting horror it was NU-13. How is she alive? I thought Ragna killed that little bitch. I scream as Nu stares at me, not caring about my use of profanity. Such language is so unbecoming of a beautiful young woman such as yourself. I'm afraid I'll have to punish you. As for your older sister here, it was discovered that she can rebuild herself. It was lucky for us, really. Saves us the trouble of patching her up, actually, he said as Nu continues looking on. Hey, leave Noel alone, you asshole. Naruto's voice shouted out as he kicks Hazama in the face, sending him flying back. I rush to Naruto and hug him. Naruto, I said as he returns the hug. We turn out attention to where Hazama was. For a few moments there was silence, then we could see Hazama starting to rise from the kick with a look of pure hate on his face. Okay, that's it. Now I'm really pissed off. Nu, capture the Murakumo unit at all costs. The orange traffic cone is mine, he ordered as a large sword falls from the sky and lands behind Noel, do you think you can beat her? Naruto asks me as he hesitates to fight Hazama. I smile at him. Don't worry, I've fought her before and I can take her. I said. Naruto nodded and rushes off to fight him while I focus my attention on my big sister. Detecting Murakumo Unit. Designation. MU-12 orders are to capture and return to the Noel for dissection and research. Nu said in her monotone voice. I've beat you once already. This time I'm sending you straight back to hell. I growled as I summoned my bulwarks, dispatched in mankind's darkest hour. I am a knight of the blue flame. I recited as Nu's swords floated in the air and the faceplate is affixed on her eyes. To be continued. Me. Next time. Serpent's benediction. If the fight between Baki and Hinata felt familiar, I felt as though Izayoi acts like Kanmi Tusen's Suzumushi, so I decided that it should have the same weakness and had Hinata pull a Kenpachi Zaraki and take the hit in order to defeat Tsubaki. This chapter will focus on the Red Devil of the BlazBlue Iron Tiger. Iron Tiger TR0009. Character voice. Kenji Nomura, JP, Jameson Price, ENG. Originally the leader of an Ikaruga unit. Tiger suffered a mortal wound during the Ikaruga Civil War and was forced to withdraw. He was revived as an enormous cyborg by Kokono, whom he pledged loyalty to afterward. After his revival, he bears a similar resemblance to a demon, which resulted in him dubbed as the Red Devil of Sector 7. He is feared by many, but in truth he is very calm and calculated, only engaging in violence when necessary. He has resumed his duties since his revival as a cyborg and is currently not only pursuing Hakumen, but also Ragna as a secondary target. Tiger's drive, Voltec Battler, magnetizes and pulls in the opponent. Ouroboros. Breaking Fate's Curse Rebel 19, Ouroboros. Written by Jailargant. Me. This is it, the fight you've been waiting for. In one corner wearing orange trunks with whisker marks Naruto Uzumaki. And in the other wearing corrosive jet black trunks with lime green hair Hazama. Please keep the votes coming. I do not own Naruto or BlazBlue in any shape or form. Naruto's POV. Play Nightmare Fiction. Ragna vs. Hazama theme right now. I want to know why you want Noel. I growl, trying to rein in my anger. The mysterious man chuckled for a moment before straightening upright. Lightning flashed for an instant. And during that instant the flash allows me to see the man's face as his golden silted eyes look at me. I seem to have forgotten to introduce myself. My name is Captain Hazama of the Novus Orbis Librarium Central Intelligence Division. And as to why I want Miss Vermilion as classified, he said in a smug tone that was eerily reminiscent of Sasuke. He removes his hat and gives a bow revealing his lime green hair. I want to know the trut. I nearly shouted, and to my surprise he stops chuckling. You want to know the truth. The truth is Noel is going to be the instrument to which she will herald the end of the world. He cackled in glee as a sickly green aura was now showing itself around Hazama. What do you mean? I asked him cautiously. The truth is that our world is full of lies. I shall show the world the truth called despair. Humans should have been dead years ago, but yet they've screwed it all up and now they're stuck in a repeating cycle of hatred and death. He said bitterly as the aura dimmed slightly. But why do you want Noel? I asked him, almost fearing the answer. Simple. You see, Noel is nothing more than a meat puppet created by us. She is the 12th Murakumo unit and she somehow inherited the Eye of the Azure. The Eye can see things that cannot be seen normally. With it I plan to use the power of the Eye and pierce the boundary itself and reach the master unit and destroy it, sending the world into complete and utter despair, he said as the aura that was surrounding him grew in intensity. I growled. Like Noel will help you. I said. Hazama smirked. She will have no choice once I capture her and throw her scrawny ass into the cauldron. Her emotion and memories will be suppressed and then she will be reborn as the God Slayer. And there's not a damn thing you can do about it, boy, he sneered. And why the hell not? I replied hotly as I could feel something wrong. It's as though he's not entirely human. Hazama chuckled for a few moments before answering, because I'm going to kill you right here, he sneered. With those words he summons a chain with a snake's head and it shoots out at me. I block it with my kunai. What the hell was that? I asked after gaining some distance. Hazama pulls out a pair of curved butterfly knives and holds them out. Oh ho. It seems like you have some talent after all. Allow me to introduce you to my Nox Nictors Geminis Anguium, Ouroboros. These will be the instrument of your demise," he stated as he launched another chain at me. This time I rolled underneath it. I look up from my position and the chain was hovering in midair as though the head has grabbed onto something invisible. I look at Hazama and he then launches himself towards me using his chain SA bungee rope, and before I could react he kicks me in the face, sending me skidding back. "A bit of payback for that kick you gave me," he said as I started to get up. "You know, when we arrived to His world I could not help but notice that our worlds are similar to each other. The constant fighting and deaths brought on by hate. I was thinking that once I kill you I will do this world a favor and kill everyone on it. And I'll start with this little shit stain of a village," he said. I suddenly grew mad at the thought of Hazama's words and I could hear the fox begging me to unleash his power on him. I sigh and reluctantly call upon the power of the nine-tailed fox, but only maintaining 2 tails worth of power. "What the?" Hazama was surprised at my sudden change. He didn't see the Charkasi overt fist colliding into his chest, nearly caving it in. "I don't know what the hell you are, but I'm going to send you straight to hell, you bastard," I roared as I can see Hazama's true form of a and shaped darkness with green lines acting as veins. There was no left eye, but a creepy smile was permanently on his face. "Oh, so you can see who I am, huh? I admit you took me by surprise there, but and again, this ability you are now displaying is similar to that of the Black Beast. Perhaps I should incapacitate you and perform some tests on you." Hazama mused. "Are you related to Orochimaru? Because he has a sick fetish for experimentation." I shot back as Hazama leaned back. "You think you're so tough, huh? Restriction 666 released. Dimensional interference field deployed." Hazama shout. As suddenly the green aura became stronger and there was a rumble in the air, and it wasn't thunder. "What the hell is this?" I said as the rumbling was reaching its peak. "You wanted to play in the big leagues. Well, here's you chance. Code Sol. Blaze Blue activate." The rumbling stops as a circle of green energy now surrounds him. The lightning flashed once more, but now it has started to rain ing it hard to gain traction from the now softening ground. "Now shall we dance?" Hazama inquired as I rushed towards him. He dodges my swipe and leans back before his leg was enveloped in a green aura and slams his foot into me hard. "Serpent's infernal rapture," Hazama called out as the kick sends me flying into the air, but before I could go too far I feel something wrap around my ankle and yank me back down onto the ground, slamming me into a nearby cart, shattering it. Is the poor little fox too much of a chicken shit to put up a decent fight?" he mocks as I stagger back up, adrenaline dull. Ling the pain, I grin maliciously while Hazama does the same. "Shadow clone jutsu," I call out as a few dozen clones surround Hazama from all sides and all of us ready to attack at a moment's notice. Well, this is new, but I guess it's no surprise that if you're dividing yourself you don't lose any intelligence. After all, 0 multiplied by any number is still 0, he said as I gave the order for my clones to attack. And one by one they get eliminated. And all this time I carefully maneuvered myself behind him while he's too busy to notice killing my clones. I decided to use the same plan I used against Neji during the Chunin exams and have one clone hang back while I attack him from behind. Hazama notices my clone standing in the back. "Are you an idiot?" "No, wait. Don't answer that. I already know the answer to that. Did you really think that hiding behind an army of clones was a good idea?" he shouted as a yellow portal appeared and 3 smaller green circles surrounded the sea. Lone Hazama used his chain to pull him in close. "Eternal coils of the dragon serpent," he calls out as he slashes the clone multiple times and leans back as his aura takes the form of 3 snakes and slams into the clone, sending him flying backwards. The clone wheezed. "Wow, I'm actually glad I'm just the distraction. Otherwise that would have killed him," he said as he popped out of existence. "What?" he said as I decided to make my presence known. "Who's the idiot now?" "Rasengan," I said as I slammed the orb into his back, sending him flying into the air. "Arg," Hazama moans as he hits the ground. For a moment when I entered Hazama's personal space I started to feel slightly weaker, but I shrugged it off since I was in my 2-tailed state. End song. At this point, I disengage the Kyuubi cloak and already the fatigue hits me. I drop to my knees and breath slightly as I look at Hazama's prone form. Serves you right, you snake-loving bastard, I said as Anbu arrived a few seconds later. You son of a bitch. I'll kill you for that. Hazama's voice spoke as he slowly and painfully stands up, shocking us. A red figure drops from the sky and lands behind Hazama, creating a small cloud of dust, covering him. When the dust clears, he and the figure in red was gone. Search for him, the Anbu in charge ordered as one of them picks me up and heads to the hospital. The fight in using the Kyuubi's charka has worn me out. As I started to black out, the rain has finally stopped. To be continued. Me. A new poll is up on my profile, so vote on who you want to see fight next. This chapter will cover another one of the 6 heroes, Ragna's mentor Jubei, not to be confused with Naruto's Jubei. Jubei, voiced by Masaki Terasoma, J.P. Kirk Thornton, E.N.G. Another one of the 6 heroes and Ragna's master, who battled the Black Beast alongside Hakumen. As revealed in Phase 0, he was originally named Mitsuyoshi and did not take up the name Jubei until after the Dark War. He's a beast man, and Kokono is his daughter. Taukaka and her clan were genetically engineered from his DNA. Despite his appearance, he is considerably short and does not come off as threatening, resembling a cat more than either of his descendants. He is a powerful warrior, with numerous characters referring to him as the most powerful being on the planet. He is armed with the Nox Nictors, Mukuro Somino, Musashi, a pair of Kodachis, one stored in each end of the sheath. Supposedly its power is to cut what cannot normally be cut, implied that it is able to destroy a magical field or barrier. He works to safeguard his friends in their times of need. An interesting fact to note, Jubei is actually the one to finish the enemy in Taukaka's astral heat. As always, Hoodie Who, Convictions. Breaking Fate's Curse Rebel 20, Convictions. Written by Jailargant. Me. Okay, now it's time for 1010 vs Lychee. Only 2 more fights after this before I start on the Hidan arc. Typical disclaimers apply. I do not own BlazBlue or Naruto in any shape or form. And to fans of the series Platinum, the Trinity is finally out. And thanks to Sunny Ninja for helping me on this chapter. 1010's POV. Play Oriental Flower. Lychee Fei Ling's theme at this point. I begin with a jab with my staff, and to my surprise Lychee's staff bent and coiled around her like a snake and blocks my initial attack. Then the staff shoots out straight and almost hits me. I deflect it at the last moment and leap back. Lychee smirks as she stands her staff in the ground and she shoots off, and I dodge her kick and follows up with slamming my staff into her side. The sleeve of her clothes suddenly wraps around my staff, and with a yank Lychee disarms me and knocks me backwards. You're not too shabby, but you'll have to do better than that if you want to win. Lychee says as I pull out one of my signature weapon scrolls. I'll take that as a compliment. But it's over now, I said as I unleashed my signature twin rising dragon technique, L. Ichi smirks as suddenly her staff changes to that of a wooden doll-like figure and punches the barrage of weapons, and then started to spin in a blur before dispatching all of my weapons and reverts to a staff form and returns to Lychee's hands. Undaunted, I rush at her with a sword and swipe at her, only to my surprise that the panda hairclip blocks it. Did your hairclip just block my sword strike? I ask her, dumbfounded at the phenomenon that just happened. Lychee giggled. You mean Lao Ju? I found this little guy a few years ago and was intrigued by him, and discovered that he helps me manipulate my staff as you've just seen. Lychee explains as she readies her staff. I grunted in frustration and renew my attacks, but this time I focus them on Lao Ju, hoping to remove him from her Hera. ND cut her fighting ability down considerably. Her staff was standing straight up and now she was standing on it and leaps off it and kicks me twice, launching me in the air. She was now positioned above me, about to deliver a powerful kick. 9 gates of heaven. And with those words a barrage of kicks strikes, and with a spin kick finishes her attack. I managed to actually keep count of the hits and D tensed up to absorb the attacks. That's 100. Damn, I thought I wouldn't take that much damage, I thought to myself as I stagger upright, much to Lychee's surprise. I growled and released the gravity C.L. that guy sensei placed on me 2 years ago and summon a giant mallet and swings it onto the ground, making it shake hard enough to make her fall to the ground. She stands up trying to regain her bala. NCE, only to be hit with the hammer, sending her flying. Home run, I shouted as she flew into the air and crashed into the ground painfully. End song. At this point, Lychee staggers up and takes a few steps. Ooh, free sake. She slurs, then she stumbles and falls face first, but due to her breasts being the size of Lady Tsunade's they cushion her fall, preventing her face from hitting the ground. Moments later Anbu arrive and pick up Lychee to take her to the hospital. Omake. Lychee the cosplay addict strikes again. I groan in pain. I could not believe that I lost. Lychee walks up to my prone F. Orm with a all too happy smile on her face as she reaches behind her back and pulls out a beige hooded dress coat with cat-like paws and cat-like ears on the hood with matching boots, red Daisy Dukes and matching suspenders. A.N. Taukaka's clothes. I try to fight her from being forced to wear it, but to no avail, and it was over in seconds. Lychee steps back to look at her handiwork with an appraising eye. You look so cute in that. Here, try this on, she said as she pulls out a pink bunny outfit, a.n. Playboy bunny outfit that is, and loosens my buns, letting my brown hair fall and place the bunny ears on my head. And once again she looks at me approvingly. Okay, now try this on, she said as she strips the costume off in one smooth motion and places a short blue and white dress with a yellow bow on the collar. Thigh-high white socks, blue and white boots, black fingerless gloves with cuffs with gold crosses for cufflinks, a nun's habit but blue with gold crosses adorning the bottom of it. Inside the crosses was the symbol for male and female. There was a metal plate similar to a ninja's headband with a cross etched in the center with the symbol for male in it, a giant HANDC. UFF around my waist, but it is loose enough to be a large belt, a red and black oversized yo-yo, and to top it all off a teddy bear. A.N. Bridget's outfit from Guilty Gear. Why? I ask weakly as the shame of wearing these outlandish costumes was overwhelming my anger at this woman that beat me so easily. Because you're so darn cute, that's why. Lychee chirped. As for the remainder of the night I am subjected to the horror of being her personal dress-up doll. End omake. To be continued. Me. New poll is up, so vote for the next match. I'm sorry that the match was so short, but fight scenes aren't really my strong suit. The omake is an alternate ending if 1010 had lost to Lychee. This is what I had in mind when I made it. Sunny suggested the bunny outfit and the use of Taukaka's clothes. NCE, her clothes are pretty much a staple of the series, and also since they also made the Guilty Gear series there are always a reference in the game, so I thought that it would be ironic that 1010 wore Bridget's clothes. No character profile this chapter since I ran out of characters to actually use. As always, Hoodie Who, Murakumo. Breaking Fate's Curse Rebel 21. Murakumo, written by Jailargant. Me. Well, since no one has broke the tie in my poll, I decided to play tiebreaker and pick Noel vs. New 13 as the next fight. After this, Makoto vs. Relis will take place. Now I do not own BlazBlue or Naruto in any shape or form. Noel's POV. Play Awakening the Chaos. New 13's theme right now. I stare at my older sister as she glides forward, her 8 swords hovering behind her like a pair of wings. I duck as one of the swords shoot out at me before vanishing and then reappearing where it was. That's right, she can use those swords over and over as many times as she wants, I thought to myself as she iris off more swords at me, forcing me to dodge them. Optic barrel. I call out and fire at her, only for New to lean back and avoid the attack and summon a barrage of swords from below me. I leap over them and fire a point-blank shot at New's faceplate, only for New to grab my hand and knocks my gun away from her face and delivers a knee to my ribs. I hissed at the impact and then follow up with slam-ing the butt of my gun to her face hard right into her nose, almost breaking it, allowing for a small trickle of blood to flow from her injured nose. Impressive work. Is that blood or oil coming out of your nose? I mocked her. New merely places her hand on her nose, wiping the blood. Analyzing damage. Analysis complete. Damage received, minimal. Continuing primary mission. She speaks as a reddish-black portal appears in front of her. My eyes widened, oh shit, and quickly move my hands through the necessary hand signs before slamming my palm on the ground, Earth-style, fortress rampart. And AAS. OLED stone wall erupts to intercept the incoming swords just as New calls out her attack. Legacy Edge. She finished as a multitude of swords start chipping away at my defensive wall that I placed until the wall itself crumbled from the assault, allowing me time to come up with a plan that could take her out. Shadow Clone Jutsu. I shouted as I create a clone. Anomaly detected. New spoke as she scans us. Valkyrie Veil ×2. We call out as we both perform our signature attack, and with a double click Nu is caught up in an explosion that would make a demolitionist proud. The blast fades. ND Nu crashes to the ground before literally falling apart. End song at this point. What the? My clone speaks as sparks shoot out from the limbs of Nu. She's some kind of robot or something. I asked my clone. She nodded. Must be. That would mean that Ragna did actually kill the original and Hazama tried to trick us with this fake, she said. Then we should go check on Naruto to make sure that he's okay. I said as the two of us rushed to where Naruto is currently. Is it a sign of insanity that you're talking to yourself through a clone and answering questions from said clone? I thought to myself as the rain now has started to pour. Naruto. I call out to him. He turns his head to us and I dispel my clone. He turns to face us. Noel, I see that you won against your older sister. I nod my head. Where's Hazama? I ask him. Naruto frowned. I won but he got away. A figure in red snatched him and we're currently looking for him. I smiled at Naruto. At least you beat him, that's all that matters. He seemed to perk up at that. Yeah, but he really insulted you and I wanted to shut his mouth for that. He sulked slightly. Who says chivalry is dead? I joked as the two of us head off to find Makoto. To be continued. Me. Sorry that this chapter is so short but writer's block is being a real pain in the ass. Next up is the final match. As always Hoodie Who. The Puppet Master. Breaking Fate's Curse. Rebel 22. The Puppet Master written by Jailargant. Me. Sorry for the delay. This ends the Hazama invasion arc until later on. Seriously, did you think that he would give up after losing to Naruto? Now I do not own Naruto or BlazBlue in any shape or form. Makoto's POV. Play Plastic Knight. Relius Clover's theme. I dodge a metal fist coming from Relius's cape and kick Ignis's clawed hand away from me and use the momentum to leap back to gain some distance from them. I mentally assess my opponent. He's obviously more skilled and flexible than Carl and Ignis is modeled differently from Nerva. Nah, but there's something off about Ignis that I can't quite identify. Something the matter, Makoto? Relius spoke in a deep voice, stopping his attack momentarily to look at me in mock concern. You're D. Oh, you said that you named her after your wife, right? I asked him, hoping that I may be wrong about my suspicions. He nodded in confirmation. Perhaps I should have been more honest in my previous answers. She isn't just named after my late wife, she is my wife. He shouted as Ignis goes in on the attack once more, hoping to catch me off guard with his confession. I block her attack and follow up with an uppercut into Ignis. Staggers back and rushes at me again and literally cartwheels towards me, making her into a giant shark. Speeding towards me, I launch a comet cannon at her and it slows her down enough for me to dodge her blades. Seriously? You couldn't get enough, so you turned your own wife into your own personal sex doll? I asked him incredulously, only for a metal fist flying out of Relius's cape to slam into my stomach. Relius growled in anger at my words. She is not a sex doll. She is the pinnacle of perfection in puppetry, an art that I take seriously, he said as suddenly he stops and looks off in the distance with a slightly concerned look on his face. It appears Hazama is in need of assistance. We'll continue this again some other time, he spoke as Ignis appears next to him. And in a flash of light they teleport away. I growled. Damn it. I said and went off to find Noel to see if she's alright. End song at this point. I eventually find Noel with Naruto and apparently they had run-ins as well with Captain Hazama, only for a figure in red to carry him off. Ignis, I thought to myself as Lady Tsunade walks up to us in full leader mode and asks us what happened when Anbu appears. Lady Tsunade, the prisoners that Hinata, Hyuga and Tenten has captured were taken from us mid-transport to interrogation. We are currently in pursuit but they have too much of a lead, he said before vanishing. Tsunade growled at the news. I want this village on lockdown now. I want all available ninjas report in at once. This is a matter of village security, she said before heading towards the hospital to treat any injured. I sigh. Come on Noel, we need to get checked out by the doctors, I said as the three of us make our way to the hospital. To be continued. Me. Finally, after months of waiting, a new chapter. Next time. The Akatsuki has been spotted outside of Konoha and Noel and Makoto accompany Asuma's team to combat them. As always, Hoodie Who. The Walking Dead. Breaking Fate's Curse. Rebel 23. The Walking Dead. Written by Jailargant. Me. Sorry for the delay, but here's chapter 23 and you'll see some action, and yes, Hazama and his crew will show up again later in the FIC. I do not own BlazBlue or Naruto in any shape or form, typical disclaimers apply. By the way, I'm replacing Izumo and Katetsu by having Noel and Makoto taking their places. Noel's POV. I stare at the Menda. Chi killed Chiraku, a old friend of Asuma Sarutobi, as he stands next to me along with Shikamaru. I carefully looked at the bingo book prior to this mission and I recognized him as Hidan. Apparently he's a follower of an evil god named Jashin. But since details on the cult is sketchy at best, it's hard to tell what skills he has. The man next to him is Kakuzu from the now-defunct Hidden Hot Spring Village. There was rumors that he practiced a forbidden jutsu before leaving the village to join Akatsuki. I was cursing myself for not being fully prepared, and I wish Makoto was here instead of being Wit Ino and Choji, but it couldn't be helped. Play Endless Despair. Unlimited Hazama's theme vocal version at this point. Bizarre It's, from start to end placed side by side. Anguish and torment, exquisite pain. Bizarre It's, running through me bleeding fool, I'm your killer. You're my victim, offered to me. I duck underneath his scythe as it attempts to slice me in half and use my bulwark to parry the blades as they bore down upon me and kick his leg out from underneath him, bringing him to the ground, and I jump, landing 2 blasts into his back, making him cry out in pain for a moment before he gets up and rushes at me, swinging his scythe wildly. Beg for your life. Do you think you'll be saved? Ha! What a fool. Guy. What is this? I'll kill you all just for fun and games, and in the most cruel way. Sacrifice you, what a shame, no escape. Even if you cry out, there's no one, nothing but violence can save the world. I lean back, avoiding the blades and occasionally firing my bulwarks, but he seemed to block them or parry them aside. It seems that the two of us are deadlocked when all of a sudden a loud noise catches out attention. Chorus. Wailing. Wailing, a loud cry of pain or rage or sorrow with a wonderful sinning voice unbridled. Wailing. Wailing, a loud cry of pain or rage or sorrow with a wonderful sinning voice. I was beside myself. Bizarre It's, from start to end placed side by side. Covered with blood on your vacant face. Noel. I could hear Makoto's voice and see that reinforcements has arrived. Hidan sneers at the new arrivals. Damn it. Just what we fucking need, a god. AMN squirrel that thinks that she a human. Hidan curses and Makoto pauses in shock at his words. Bizarre It's, running through may seek a new challenger, a victim, offered to me. Beg for your life, Edo, you think you'll be saved. What a fool. Guy. What is Thesiel, kill you all just for fun and games. And in the most cruel way. Sacrifice you, what a shame, no escape, even if you cry out, there's no one. Nothing but violence can save the world. Hidan barely dodges my attack, he turns to face me. My hair casting a shadow over my eyes. No one insults my friend. Especially a racist bastard like you. I growl at him and level a fierce gaze at him, unleashing Armagus. I shout as the limiters were partially released. Chorus X4. End song at this time. Zero gun. Thor. I call out, letting loose a barrage of G. Unfire onto an unsuspecting Hidan, and the sound of a missile impacting him was more satisfying than I thought possible. As the explosion echoes, I thought that he deserved it for his actions. I turn my attention to Kukazu, who stands passively by as I assaulted his partner. Damn it. That hurts like a bitch. A familiar voice curses as to my shock Hidan stumbles out of the fiery explosion with minor burns on his skin. His coat was burnt away, revealing his upper torso, which appears to have 2nd to 3rd degree burns. What the hell? Noel blasted you with a freaking missile. How the fuck did you survive? Makoto shouts as the burns were starting to heal. There's a reason we're known as the zombie duo of the Akatsuki. We cannot be killed, we just keep coming back for more. Kukazu explains as he joins Hidan on the battlefield. To be continued. Me. Next time Makoto joins the fray against Kukazu. How will our favorite squirrel girl fare against an immortal? Tune in next time to find out. As always, Hoodie Who. Shattering Masks. Breaking Fate's Curse, Rebel 24. Shattering Masks, written by Jailargant. Me. I have come to inform you that this FIC is not dead. I was too focused on writing MLP and other projects, so this story and others fell into the wayside. But now I'm back and ready to write again, and I swear on Lychee's boobs that I will complete this story. I do not own BlazBlue or Naruto. In any shape or form. Typical disclaimers apply. Makoto's POV. Play thin red line. Erican's theme at this point. I dodge a tendril of hair as another one wraps around my ankle and yanks me into the air, and another twists itself to a sharp point and moves in to impale me. I raise my tonfa to block it and kick out of the tendril that held me. I land onto the ground, raising my arms into a defensive position. Geez, and I thought I've seen a lot of body hair on a fat sweaty bald man. You take the prize for that one, I said as I duck underneath the tendril to get in close to Kukazu, only to jump back when several hairy tentacles emerge from Kukazu's body and launch themselves at me. He chuckles as he watches me dodge his attacks. Impressive. Not me could actually hold out this long against such an assault. I cannot wait to see if your heart is compatible with the ones I've collected over the years, he says as he pauses his attacks for a moment. What do you mean? I ask, slightly afraid at his words. I'm sure that you have heard rumors about me using a forbidden jutsu in retaliation to those short-sighted fools. What I did was I literally took their hearts, and along with getting all of their collective knowledge, I attained a type of immortality. As long as I have 5 hearts, I cannot be stopped. No one has ever destroyed more than 2 hearts, he said as he removes his coat to reveal a body covered in stitches, and several hairy tentacles erupt from his body, and they eventually reform itself into 4 monsters. They must represent each of the hearts he had consumed. I thought to myself as one of them opens its mouth wide and fire was inside its mouth. I dodged the fireball only to get clipped by a stream of water from another monster. A blast of wind and mud flew towards me. I dodge them and I scream out as a bolt of lightning from Kukazu hits me in the leg, paralyzing it. Oh, come on. Creating monsters that use specific elements is cheating, I complain. Kukazu smiles evilly behind his mask. We're ninjas. It's in the job description. Let that be a lesson to you in the next life, he says as the 4 monsters open their mouths in preparations to fire 4 elements all at the same time. Expansion Jutsu. Choji's voice yells out as a giant hand grabs one of the monsters and crushes it. Shadow Possession Jutsu successful, Shikamaru's voice said as the remaining monsters struggle to escape the shadows that are controlling them. Ino, do it, he calls out as the platinum blonde places a kunai against Kukazu's throat. Gotcha, Ino said. Makoto, you okay? She asks me. I grunted. Yeah, guy clipped me good, but I'll live, I said. Ino held the kunai against his throat closer. Surrender at once, there's no way to win this, she says. Kukazu laughs. Oh, you think so? He asks as his body erupts in black tendrils, knocking Ino back into Shikamaru, and wraps himself around Choji's arm and pulls him towards one of his monsters, which rears back a fist and slams it into his face, sending him flying into a nearby tree. He pulls the tendrils back into himself. Please, I fought your parents and they put up more of a fight than you did at your age, he mocks as my leg recovers enough to allow movement. End song at this point. Damn it, this guy's too strong. We'll have to retreat, Shikamaru said. But Shikamaru, what about the mission? Ino said worriedly. We got no choice. This guy's too powerful for us to face. We'll have to regroup and come up with a new plan of attack, Shikamaru said. I moved in front of them. You guys go. I'll cover your exit, I said, needing to stall for enough time to help them escape. Kukazu was now striding forward, taking his time, knowing that he can wait. He's been waiting for years. It's what kept him alive until now. It doesn't matter to me if you run now or you stay to fight me. In the end, I will eventually find you and remove your hearts one by one so that I can live forever, he says as he prepares for round 2. To be continued. I know it's a short chapter, but I need to get back into the groove of thing. Next time. Makoto and Team Shikamaru manage to escape, and now Noel has to do the same, but Hidan proves that he will not abandon a target. Tune in next time to see the action. As always, Hoodie Who.